know whenever you're ready. You're ready?
Yes.
Thank you, Sam. Okay, very good. Thank you, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the Red Hook Town Board meeting of Wednesday, March 25th, 2026. Would you be kind enough to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Thank you all very much. Sam, if I could ask you to pan over to the screen there, then we can show the folks at home what we'll be discussing tonight. On our agenda, we'll be talking about the desire of the Water Board Chairman to dispense with some surplus properties in the Water District, and thinking perhaps now is a good time to be discussing that since there's some capital needs for rehabbing the tank. We have a resolution to approve amended task order for the T&D Water District map plan and report. There was a task order back in 2024 that we approved for this effort, which included the preliminary engineering report, which we have already received, and we've got an updated task order for the second portion of that, which is to create the map plan and report. We're going to have a discussion about the Champlain Hudson Power Express. If you've been following along the previous meetings, that is that power line that's underneath the Hudson River, comes all the way from Quebec and goes to Astoria, Queens. And because it lies within our underwater land, it is eligible for taxation, and the developers are interested in discussing the possibility of a pilot agreement. And so we'll have a discussion, a brief discussion about what the pros and cons of that might be. I don't necessarily think we'll be taking action tonight, but you never know. The fourth item on the agenda is we are going to entertain a resolution to apply for a grant, as we always do. We apply for as many grants as we can possibly put together. This one is for assisting us in records management. Government is famous for paperwork, and paperwork requires record storage and management of that. And so what we're trying to do is sort of weed through what needs to be kept, what needs to be digitized, and so on and so forth. And so we're going to apply for a grant to help us continue to manage our records appropriately. We've got a couple updates I think we'll be doing for reorganization. As we've mentioned briefly, battery energy storage law. It's an emerging topic, and so if we want to get something on the books regarding that, we should probably get started now. And so we'll have a brief discussion about that as well. We have some correspondence. There's an application that we have 30 days in order to chime in on, related to the Roland Fields property. That's the former bowling alley. There's a request for a liquor license there, and so we'll have a discussion about that as well. The last item on the agenda is a discussion regarding Camp Rising Sun, and it's not regarding the project, the preservation project that we're doing in partnership with Winnicke. It's different than that. So I was approached by the executive director, who mentioned that the entity that was originally going to rent the campgrounds this year, and had previously done so for several years, is not going to rent the grounds. And so there's some thought. They would like to know if we would be interested in renting the pool. Something that I think has been a goal of our community is to provide public access to our community for a pool. We do have a private pool located next to or adjacent to the grounds of the rec pool. And so we'll have a brief discussion about that and maybe get some more information moving forward about that effort. It's the second meeting of the month, so we always go through our department, board, and committee reports. So we'll be reporting out on that. We had some correspondence from the Red Hook Librarian about a program and whether or not we'd be interested in partnering with the library on a program to provide books for young individuals in our community. And one of the things that I read as part of the request, which was a little disturbing to me, which was that only 55% of third graders in the community are reading at a proficient level. So something for us to discuss. Okay, so that's what we have on the agenda for tonight. As far as announcements, the Red Hook Rod and Gun Club and the community, the town, of course, we are a co-sponsor of the Multnomah Memorial Trout Fishing Contest. That's April 11th. Looks to me like we hand wrote the 11th in there. This is a Saturday morning. We always do it each year. It's a wonderful event for kids. If you remember last year, it was absolutely horrific weather. I was out there. These poor kids were fishing in sleet and snow and so on and so forth. They're really quite impressive. It's just for ages 5 to 15, and it's 8 a.m., 12 noon. It's along the creek at our rec park. Obviously, it's one of our events that we are very happy about. You'll be receiving the newsletter soon in your mail, and these are the events coming up for the spring, sort of reorganized now in date order. I want to remind you that we have partnered with Dutchess County and HELPSI for this program. I think my email was about as corny as could be. We're the government and we're here to help see. This program is a wonderful program that recycles textiles. So any of your shirts, any of your pants, if it's ripped, shoes, there's a list of items that you can bring. We have 2 boxes along with the other boxes at our recycling center, but also what's unique about this program is you can schedule pickup at your house. And for those of us who are moving, I can assure you that that can be very helpful. I think we've brought probably 20 bags, I'm embarrassed to say, of clothing to either Ben and Gracie's or to these boxes as well. But it's really been enormously helpful. They recycle the textiles. There's even occasionally some money that goes back to the municipality based upon what they do with the goods. This has been at Ozone for some time, and something that's being launched for municipalities countywide. Okay, and that's what I have for announcements, but it looks like you have one.
I do. I want to
Okay.
remind the public that we are in a burn ban. It started on the 16th and it goes to May 14th. There are many newer people in the community who are unaware of the burn ban, and there are people who've lived here a long time who are aware that we do have a burn ban, they just didn't know it was in effect right now. Today, while I was walking my dog, I encountered 2 people burning brush who I had to tell them about the burn ban. One was new to the community and was totally unaware, the other thought it was going to be in April. So I just wanted to put that out there. We did announce it previously, but it's something we should reinforce it.
Yeah. Thank you. March 16th to
May 14th. Statewide.
Statewide, yeah. Okay, any other announcements? No? Okay. With that being said, we'll take some public comments for 15 minutes. Is there anybody who would like to? Roxanne, would you be kind enough to just come up
Yes.
and state your name? Thank you.
Roxanne Fisher, Barrytown, New York. As I stated at the March 10th meeting, the ongoing Boat Club eminent domain litigation continues to drain significant taxpayer funds, now over $300,000 and still climbing, with discovery escalating in federal court, appellate proceedings, and mediation at an impasse. Just last week, Dutchess County Supreme Court Justice Maria Rosa issued an order publicly available through an online search in the latest Article 78 proceedings. I have copies of the order for the board and press. The town missed the legally required March 18th deadline to answer the petition, which was challenging the December 9, 2025 determinations and those local laws that had been given a deadline now of a final deadline of April 10th. This is the third such proceeding in state court, and the pattern of prolonged litigation and mounting legal expenses is clear. There is still no resolution in sight. Costs and community division persist. As I've stated before, any board member who voted in favor of the July 25 eminent domain resolution can rescind that vote at any time. Bill and Jacob, it is well past time for one of you to do the right thing and halt these exorbitant legal expenses, reduce divisiveness, and allow the town to pursue responsible, good faith alternatives that better serve all residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Roxanne. Would anybody else like to make some comments? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on with our agenda for the first item. I think I mentioned to let you council members know, for some time now, Hank has been interested in disposing of these parcels that are not needed. He sent us what may be the briefest communication, interdepartment communication. But to orient the folks at home, the Water District owns some parcels in the Linden Acres area here. I will...
These are circles, and then you just put the cursor in.
Yeah, so I think what I'll do is I'll show you these if you wouldn't mind. You can see these wettish areas here. This is the wetland map, parcel access. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. They have previously disposed of and sold to the town this 6th parcel here. This is actually where the trail comes out. If you look on the aerial, from Park West, not from the Saukville trails, which are further down, take you further out, but from Warwick Park West. Much of this is not buildable. There is an easement, a maintenance area here that has been afforded to an adjoining property for mowing. And so these 5 parcels here are the ones they're interested in disposing of as surplus parcels. They have no need for them. I think you've seen the email from Hank. And so the next steps would be, if we wanted to entertain that, the thought would be that we could take these parcels that don't have a lot of development potential. We can make a little pocket park. And when I mean pocket park, I don't mean much more than a couple of benches, say over here on Albee, maybe a couple of benches, or if somebody can think of something much more imaginative than I can, which probably isn't that hard, a couple of benches here. It would make a good resting area, let's say, if you're coming in off of Linden and you're doing an exit over here and then going along Aspinwall. But as you know, good planning, one of the things that we don't have here in this community is little pocket parks. We don't even have one really in the village, with the exception of Abraham's, which I'm not sure you would consider that a pocket park, something small. For really respite, but it'd be a good place for people to stop if they're taking a longer journey over, and I apologize, here's First Street over here, but I just would like to orient you to over here, to the top left of the map here, is where you enter the blue trail of the Sauk Hill Trails. So it'd be really a nice way to come out to Rec Park West if you need to sit down for a little bit, and then if you wanted to continue way down Aspinwall, and then maybe go over to the blue trails here. The red trail exit is further down this way on Aspinwall. And we would, probably want to look at the Community Preservation Fund, since it had an emphasis in the last update for protecting water resources, and obviously there's a wetland here. These parcels were not included. I'm not sure why, maybe because they were small. But so that would have to be a part of the process. We need to get an appraisal. We need to refer to the CPF committee, all of which we'd want to sort of do pretty quickly, because we would like to get a sense of what the valuations are, and if we wanted to consummate the disposal of the surplus properties and use those proceeds towards, or have them at least available when we get bids in, we could use it towards the project, which will probably take most of the summertime, provided that we award on the tank, so.
So what, if we were to do that, how would we understand the maintenance cost moving forward?
Well, we could take a look at it. When you say the maintenance costs of what, mowing around there, or,
Well, obviously it would have to be
Yeah.
designed and quantified, but,
There's no maintenance in the wetlands. No one goes in the wetlands.
well, that's not actually true. The DEC wants certain invasive species removed, and
Yeah.
there's always maintenance in owning property. But I know later in our agenda we're going to look at the rec park report, and we have kind of for the first time an opportunity to look at the Cookingham trails needing maintenance, and so
Everything needs maintenance.
everything needs maintenance.
Everything needs
and,
maintenance.
And so the question is, as we're, last meeting we looked at Camp Rising Sun
Mhm.
and acquiring that, and so how are we, as a new board member,
Mhm.
explain to me how we're looking at those ongoing costs and rolling them into the budget.
Well, again, we would need to come up with an idea of what we'd want to do to the property, if anything. I mean, it's a wetland, and obviously the area surrounding it. I'm literally thinking of a couple of benches. Now, you all may have other ideas for it, but some kind of mowing, something. I don't think we're talking about a lot of maintenance here.
Is it mowed
But
now?
we can take a look at it.
What does the property look like now?
Again, we'll take a look at what's on the property. We'll take a look at what maybe would be appropriate to
Thank
do.
you.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a brush hog situation where, once you get that done, you can get on top of it. It's a little bit like the Cookingham Trails. The first time we did the weed whacking for along the fence line, it was a bear because of the conditions were really unusual. And it grew up to be a lot, but, the staff has it, and it's working well.
I mean, I'll just say, I did reach out informally to a number of people that I know that live in that area, and they were all very positive about the idea of a park. I think in a certain sense, like, who wouldn't be, but it's on my mind because we have a certain amount of money in the CPF funds, and those will fund acquisitions, but how are we looking towards
Well,
maintenance?
Yeah, well, don't forget, one of the provisions of the CPF fund is you can use 10% towards maintenance. So, that's something, I'm not thinking, now, we should do a site visit and take a look at it. I'm not thinking this is gonna be very expensive to maintain, at least to allow for a couple of benches somewhere. But if we have
Well, if
bigger
it has
ideas
to be
about-
quantified first of all, about like what we're doing and then how much it costs, but
Yeah.
it's, I think it's relevant to this discussion when we, later on, when we go through the rec department
Yeah.
report and knowing as a runner that there was like a comment in the report about like, there's all these footprints in the stone dust paths and admittedly many of those are my own, that it needs a certain amount of maintenance and,
it just does.
as we
Everything
acquire
does.
more and more, I'd like to understand how is that 10% covering our costs? When I look at the rec budget, that's a large amount that covers an immense amount of things, and some of which are totally unrelated to maintenance, right? Like summer camps, which are awesome, and
Mhm.
it's all kind of one lump sum.
Mhm. I think
So
it's
I don't-
actually a very modest budget, what we do for rec. I think it's probably.
I'm not debating whether it's
Right.
modest or not, I'm saying,
Yeah.
just explain to me how like the delta between, let's acquire all the parks in the world, let's understand what it takes to maintain them and make sure that we're balancing those things.
Yeah.
I would say that I think before, I don't wanna put the cart before the horse, we would need evaluation on these parcels to see if it's even something worth pursuing to help the water department. The valuation of properties that are really basically not buildable, I don't know, I don't really understand that, how that works, and I think ultimately we'd have to see what an appraisal would say on these parcels in terms to see if it's even worth going that extra mile.
Yeah, and I know, but Bill, to your point though, in terms of, a lot of it is wetlands, in a certain sense, maintaining wetlands actually requires more maintenance. Like for instance, the DEC recommends removing Phragmite and certain
I know.
invasives, so that's a commitment.
Mhm. Well, I just want to remind folks, the water district owns it now. So it would just be a transfer from the water district to the town as a whole. The town would, if we were interested in doing this, would have the benefit, and the benefit would accrue to primarily, I would assume, folks within that neighborhood, and that's what we keep talking about. I'm sure you've heard me say ad nauseum to the people in Barrytown, to the people in the village, the people who generally use these parks, these small parks, are the people who live in those neighborhoods. And so this would be a benefit that would accrue to people who both live in the neighborhood and people who are served in the water district. So,
Robert, it might also be helpful to inform the public why it is that the water department owns these parcels in the first place. They've had them for a very long time, and now why they're basically obsolete.
take it away, since you're the
No.
liaison. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Oh, no, I'd be happy to say, I mean, there used to be some wells there, and they no longer are wells, and they don't believe that there will be the ability to place wells there again. And so they have no use as a buffer, however. So
Right.
here's the thing, you have this wetland, so we're talking about protecting our water resources, right? We've done a drinking water source, which, will dovetail towards our creation of the water district. We've got these preservation projects along the Sawkill, so on and so forth. Here's an opportunity to, once they're designated rec lands, they cannot be developed. And so if we decide that these are gonna be passive little rec parcels, then that also has, and the reason I would imagine, if the CPF committee is favorable, is not only for the rec aspect, but also for the preservation of the water resource aspect. So let's look at it that way, that this is the water district who might be disposing of the lands in such a way that's protective of the lands, because it's encumbered by the CPF. So, but to your concern, we always think about, like, if we buy this, trust me, as somebody who had to buy horses for kids, I used to remind them it's not the cost of acquiring them, it's the cost of maintaining them and keeping them. So we're mindful of that, but I don't think we're talking about, but, you know, I could be wrong, let's do a site visit. I don't think we're talking about much here for maintenance.
I'm talking more globally, like, I mean, I think that it's wonderful that we have CPF funds, and, I mean, other planners in other communities have mentioned that to me in my career,
Mhm.
that Red Hook has done an awesome thing in having the CPF funds, and yes, we can acquire lands and we can grow public resources, but I think it would be helpful to look at really specifically things that we've acquired recently that we can really tie back the maintenance costs to and make sure that we're not spending more than we anticipated on
I hear you.
on those parks.
I don't sleep at night thinking about, you know, the future and the future costs, but I will just remind the public that, you know, last meeting, the town of Red Hook's finances have never been stronger. We have completed, or nearly completed, 90 capital projects. They have never been stronger. When you look at our fund balances, we also have surplus property to dispose of probably this year in the Cookingham West Farm. We will have more money than we've ever had, despite all of the projects that we've acquired and had to maintain, and some of them have turned out to be more money than, you know, we had hoped that they would be.
Maybe we can break it out, is that reasonable? Like,
Well-
we can look at our, I mean,
Sure.
look at our
Sure.
all those
But I don't
stats
want
and
us to get
vouchers.
lost on what's in front of us.
100% agree.
Okay.
100%
So,
agree.
what I do wanna just reiterate is, if we think we're interested in this, then we should take the next step, which is to, see if we can get, either an appraisal or to get a real estate professional to give us an idea so that we can get some sense of what the cost would be, because Bill, to your point, I mean, the Board of Health tends to allow, and Christina, you would know this probably better than any of us, because you're in the development business, but they would say, well, we're not gonna prohibit you from building a house, you're just gonna have to do a raised septic, you're gonna have to locate it here, whatever, right?
Well, the other thing.
What's
The other thing is these maps are obsolete and they can no longer be used for jurisdictional purposes. So if you really wanna know how big this wetland is,
Yeah,
it's gonna have to
it's
be
gonna have to be flagged and.
by DEC.
Right,
So
for sure.
there may be, hey, listen,
Right.
wetlands grow and they shrink. It's just the nature of how it is. And so while I've been there, there's wetlands there, we just don't know whether they're bigger or smaller than they were before. And I think that affects value as well.
Yeah,
Well, a jurisdictional determination would be step one, and before anyone would be able to appraise it, I would think.
I'm not so sure about that. Because if it's buildable, if Board of Health is gonna say it's buildable, I think that, you know.
No, I mean, Board of Health is 10 steps away from it. I'm talking about the DEC's, a parcel
Yeah.
JD is the new 2026 process of understanding where wetlands are. You can't, we used to have the maps, and now we have a jurisdictional
Yeah.
determination process.
No, I hear you,
Yes.
but this reminds me of a meeting we had a couple of meetings ago, because you know, you're looking at things from a development point of view and have been for years, so I grant you that, but as somebody who spent 30 years looking at it from preservation, it's very different the review that you would do of a parcel like this to preserve it, than the review that you would do to ask to have a
Not
jurisdictional-
disagreeing with you, I'm
Yeah.
actually, I'm
Yeah.
building on Bill's point
Yeah.
of that the maps aren't valid, and the process of DEC coming out
Sure,
that's what that is, it's a jurisdictional
yeah.
determination by DEC, which is field work.
I'm not sure we would need that, but that's a good question. I think we should look into that. I'm not sure we would need that because we are acquiring it for rec lands and for preservation.
Not
It
for
may be
development,
good
no.
for us, it may be good for us to know exactly where,
Yeah.
and have it flagged again, for sure. Other thoughts? Jacob?
I mean, I think it'd be great to do a site visit. It'd be great to get, a sense of the value.
Okay. More info? William?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's close enough.
Okay. Well, let's plan on doing a site visit, and I'll try and get you as many documents as I can that might help with understanding the parcels. And, you know, good to walk the beginning exit Park West and get some measurements too. Okay. Thank you very much. That is number one. So we had the amended task order from Ty and Bond. Task order, I think it's number 9 from 2024, included a preliminary engineering review and a development of an MPR. This is an amendment, I think back then, a couple of years ago, the estimate was for $11,500. It's now at $13,500 for this task order for the map plan and report. You know, there's more information, a little bit more complicated. The update on where Ty and Bond is they've been gathering the information on the water lines. As you know, part of this district is already serviced by Village Water, so in developing the map plan and report, they're gathering all the existing plans and so on and so forth within that D&D proposed service district. And so I think there'll be some more information coming to us in the next couple of weeks.
So this is what we discussed at the February 10th meeting?
February 10th
We-
meeting, yes, and
We
so,
passed a resolution for ARPA funds
that's
to
right,
cover
that's right,
engineering and legal fees, and
that's correct,
I haven't seen anything on legal.
no,
We asked for estimation of legal fees and engineering fees, so this is the engineering fees for
this is the
the
engineering phase,
development of the map.
just the map plan and report, that's required to
Right.
submit to the comptroller's office for review and obviously to make available to the
And
people
remind me
in
how
the proposed
The
district.
total amount of ARPA funds
What
was,
we approved was $40,000 towards this effort, knowing that we might have to adjust that. And
have we heard from our attorney on the estimation of fees for the,
no, our attorney, I think our attorney conveyed it was hard to estimate fees. Chris, what did you say last time? She's there somewhere. Chris, I think you're
Well,
muted.
yes, here we go. So I would suggest that maybe we should look at the process
For the sewer, right?
the sewer, which is recent, and the process is similar.
Yeah,
So that might be a good way to estimate,
yeah,
if that would make sense.
okay,
We can do that.
that
but we
works.
asked for the estimation on February 10th. It's now March 25th, so that's a
Kristen, I
while.
think I was waiting to understand what the scope of the district was gonna be, and what I'm now understanding is we're talking about the TMD.
Oh.
Which, you know, there were different ideas floating around in terms of including other areas that are currently served by the village.
Right,
So,
one of the things that I
Well,
think
no,
you.
well, but hold on, no, we had said the conclusion of that discussion,
Yeah.
I'm sure this is in the minutes, but we had said that we were gonna prepare a map report for only the
That's correct.
matching the
Yeah.
water and the sewer. So the sewer area is already established, we were gonna match the water to it, and
That's
that's what we asked
That's
Chris to estimate her legal fees for.
Kristen, if that's the case, then I apologize. I probably had a note, and I will get that to you for the next discussion.
Okay, thanks, Chris. All right, anything on this? I assume we want to approve this task order, or are there any comments on it before we entertain it? What,
I don't have any comments on it.
no comments?
I didn't see a resolution in the packet.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh yeah, because we'll do this by motion, sorry. And I put resolution, so my bad. Okay, motion to approve, I think I refer to it as amended task order, we'll call it the task order related to prep of the map plan and report. And if you are in that traditional neighborhood district, we're working as fast as we can to identify potential grants, as we've told you, with the sewer. We'd like to get some grant money towards this effort. One of the things, Christina, I think you brought up at that February 10th meeting is trying to identify, and then Brandy is working on it, the nearby water districts and how,
Yes.
how that would work. So she's been in touch with the county and shape files. I noticed you asked for an update a
I
few
did.
minutes before this meeting started, so I was able to reach her right beforehand. And so they're working on that, trying to get that ready.
Does she have any progress on that though? Because she thought on that February 10th meeting, and I know we canceled the second meeting in February, but she thought she would have it for the first March meeting. That's what
The-
Brandy told us on February 10th.
I think she's waiting for some shape files from the county. Again, I'm just the messenger, I don't know how to better convey it, but I think she's waiting on some shape files from the county on that. Because there's a whole bunch of water districts, right? There's the one that's nearby, and
Yeah.
then there's the other ones. I think the request was for all the water districts that are in the township, so that would include, say, the one in Forest Park, for example, right?
Right.
We'll touch base.
I think a progress update would be good.
Yeah. Okay, motion to approve the task order. This is task order,
You said number 9.
no, it's amending number 9 of
Oh.
2024, but it's actually task order number 3 of 2026 to prepare the map plan and report for the proposed water district, which is commensurate with the TMD sewer district. I so move. Is there a second?
Second?
Thank you, Christina.
Beat me to it.
If no further discussion, all in favor, William?
Aye.
Jacob?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Christina?
Aye.
4 ayes. Okay, so Champlain Hudson Power Express. So just to go back, and I don't know how much I put in this packet, so I'm going to just refresh your memories if I could. Proportional to the mileage that is within the underwater lands, that is within the boundaries of the town of Red Hook, as compared to all of the lands. There are 2 rates, I'm told. I had a meeting with them, along with some of my colleagues, other supervisors. There are 2 rates. There's the underwater rate, and then there is where the cable goes above ground. This project was approximately a $6 billion project. So there's the proportion that's been allocated. What came on the rolls, and this is all New York State makes the determination based upon the cost of the project. What came on the rolls in the town of Red Hook was approximately $12.5 million of valuation. Don't get excited. The town of Red Hook is not getting $12.5 million. That is the proportional value of the cable that's underneath 4-point-something miles. It's not the full extent of waterfront. They challenged, but not yet a legal suit. They have challenged the state's amount because it's not live yet, the project, so there's no power being sent down there. So there's a concept of obsolescence. So they are saying, it's not too unlike when somebody builds a house and half of it's built, we put something on the roll because value has been increased for the property, but it's not at full value. So they are challenging it and saying that that it should be 7 million something. All of that to say that they would like to know if we're interested in a pilot agreement whereby we would have predictable amounts that they've given us a schedule for discussion purposes for the various municipalities here in the town of Red Hook and also the school district. They had already met with the school district, and the school district had expressed to them that they were open to a pilot. There's some flexibility in how those payments could be made. Right now, they're ascending, they go up each year. There's an escalator in the agreement, it's a 30-year agreement. Not surprising to you, it's less in the beginning than what we would probably get once it hits the books and stays at full valuation. The challenge is we don't set the valuation for the project, unlike what happens here with a commercial business or with a residence. This is the state that places the valuation. My understanding is that they will take the value of the project and they will depreciate it. And so it will go on the rolls. This is all part of our special franchise. It's a separate list that we get each year. And so we won't be in control of the valuation to know that that valuation is appropriate. So a project like this could appreciate in value, but it also is likely to be subject to depreciation because it won't last forever. Now, the complicating factor of all that is when we, for example, all of you taxpayers have seen over the years as property values go up, and we, the board, have adjusted all the rates down in most cases, we've adjusted the rates down to completely wipe the increase that could happen because of the appreciated assessment. In some cases, it's been almost the entire amount. You get a lower tax rate. So if this stays on the books, the $12 million or $12.5 million, and our tax rate continues to go down. So for example, before I started, the tax rate was 2.34 mil. It's in the last budget, 1.41. So you see the decrease in the tax rate. So if this stays on the rolls, for example, the project appreciates because the value of electricity, as we know, keeps going up. But then it is a capital project, so it will be depreciable. Tell me if I'm getting too wonky for you, Jacob. Let's say it just flatlines, it stays the same throughout this period. We'll be getting less money each and every year, okay? Because the tax rate will go down. Now, if properties don't go up in the future, which is also a possibility, given what we don't know is coming our way, then we don't have this fear of a declining tax rate affecting that valuation in such a way that we receive less money. They are open to having a different schedule for a pilot. So for example, we could have a higher amount in the beginning and do it in December. They would be open to a pilot with a host community agreement or community benefit agreement. What is that? So that's like it's a separate agreement that all the taxing entities would need to sign on to. That says, for example, we want you to, in addition to paying for a pilot, we want you to buy us an ambulance. Our community desperately needs an ambulance. So that's part of the host community agreement. Bill, don't write down our community desperately needs an ambulance. That was an example. So there's ways that we can structure some type of an agreement that could work for the community as well. All of this is to say that there are different options that have pros and cons. One of the cons, and Chris is on the line, of doing a pilot versus doing a full assessment. Chris, you want to take it away?
You mean the issue that a pilot is a contract
Yeah.
and is subject to contractual remedies as opposed to a tax, which is a tax lien on the
Right.
property? That's the one?
Yes, that one. I'm not quite sure how we would do a lien on it. Cable 4 point something miles in the river, but yes. That's the one, so there's different risk profiles to each option. Have I made your heads in yet, Bill? Okay.
Just reading the small print,
Yeah, which part of the small print?
the very smallest part.
This part down there?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this has gotta be like the font size of
What's,
like 0.5.
what
I'm not
decision
sure
are we
what
trying
that
to make at tonight?
What?
Excuse me?
What decision are we trying to make tonight?
I don't think we need, I don't think we need to make a decision tonight at all. I'm just raising the options to you and asking you to give it some thought. Right now, one way or the other, we're getting something for this tax year because it's already on the books. So that's not an issue, we're either gonna get whatever the tax is at 12.5, or they're saying it's really 7.5, or something in between. So we don't need to decide that just yet.
I think it would be good to see sort of comparison of if we did not engage in an agreement with them, what, if taxes remained flat over the 30 years, what that total would look like for comparison purposes. Obviously, it's subject to fluctuation, but it'd be good to know.
Well, that's
Just a
what this
baseline
chart,
of,
well,
you
this,
know.
that's what this chart is, right, just so you know, the first year for the town.
But this is the pilot agreement, I'm saying the tax amount.
Yeah. The tax amount I can do in my head.
Go.
So. Yeah, that's kind of embarrassing. So we'd be looking at not a lot of money, basically, because our mill rate is 1.41. So you would and that's what it is existing, and you would times 1.41 times $12.5 million, and that's, you know, and reduce it by the thousands. Got it?
No,
Okay.
So it'd be something like, what, $20,000?
It
A
would
year?
be, yeah,
Something like that?
19, and not even 18. Yeah. Right. 17.
So it's,
It's not a lot.
so it's-
The big one
so
is,
it's-
the big one is for the
balances out.
schools.
Yeah, the school's
schools.
huge.
Yeah.
You know, we're not talking about a lot of money. And the school has already said that they're open to a pilot. So,
Given the
So-
numbers.
Roxanne, I'm sorry, yeah.
Does the town have any liabilities or any costs associated with this project?
No, we do not. We're not involved in this project. We just benefit from the fact that it's underwater in our township.
So we don't have to do anything? Okay.
No.
Get charged though.
You could argue this is found money. Anyway, food for thought. I'll run some numbers for you. I can show you what they would look like flatline, I can show you if we wanted upfront money, but be careful if you get if you wanted in descending order, then when the pilot's all over, and then, as Chris points out, you do have to go after if they don't fulfill their pilot agreements. Okay. Lots to think about. Not very sexy, but very important, is the Paperwork Reduction Act. Never really did reduce any paper, and so we have lots of paper, and actually we've been very good. The town of Red Hook has really done a good job of, it also helps having that annual shred day, I will say. So we each year look through what is no longer needed, and go to shred. But this grant is to get somebody to help us train, that's the idea, is to get somebody who would help us train folks here, in order to assist. Scroll here.
So it would,
Deanna, did you want to speak to it for a little bit, please?
yeah,
Yeah.
so, this grant would, allow us to engage with a consultant that could, help us train part-time record clerks to inventory the inactive records that we have amongst our 11 departments, and create at some point more space by being able to follow the LGS, New York State LGS 1 records retention schedule, which is possible that many of these records could have been destroyed many years ago, but this inventory, this consultant would help us inventory, as well as train 2 record clerks, record management, what are they called? I'm sorry, I keep saying the wrong name for them. Record clerks, part-time, to go through this, and at that point also, the consultant will train, will train us, but our office will then be able to provide to the other departments, record management. Each department would have their own record management coordinator. Whoever's the head of that department would be trained as well to a specialized LGS 1 schedule based on their department, and so that it can be followed. There's a lot of records that are permanent. There are a lot of records that are 6 years, and after that can be destroyed, but they also can't just be destroyed. They need to be documented. So this inventory is going to show us everything we have in our inactives, as well as what's active. We'll have an inventory, and then at that point, anything inactive that can be destroyed, we will go through and document with the record clerks. They'll be coming out of my office, as the records management officer. Town clerk's office is responsible for all the records in the town. This does not include vital records. Those don't need to be inventoried. So it's a large undertaking, and I think that this would allow us to create extra space. Right now, out of all the records we have, we only have 186 cubic feet left for any new records. We are using 2,074 approximately cubic feet for records that we most likely are saving and just sitting there and don't need. So this would be a really great help, and once we get on track, we wouldn't need to do this again. The last time this was done in 1993. And if we can continue this with these coordinators, training, coordinators in each department, we will actually be able to continue this, and it will be sustainable this time. So I hope we get the grant. I hope we can go for the grant. That would be ideal if you guys approve it.
So the grant's due next week. Anybody willing to work with old records gets my support. What do you, any thoughts about?
I think it's important.
Yeah.
And I have personal experience both in the federal government and at the state level of dealing with records, schedules, and retentions, and it's complicated. And if you still have to have a log of what you destroyed, but once you clear out things, it makes it a lot easier when there are needs to find records.
Yes.
We digitized a whole bunch, years ago.
Yes.
Before any of you were done. Sort of in the beginning when I started, we did some, Claudine Close was very kind enough to work to get a grant to digitize things like minutes, right, and all that,
Yeah.
like way back stuff, right?
Yeah, there's microfiche at the Ulster County Records
Yeah,
Hall there of our records,
Yeah.
dating back to even prior to
Yeah.
the beginning of our town.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but they've been microfiche, and they're in a climate control safe area.
Yeah.
From that grant, we don't have to pay for that storage forever.
And there's no matching requirement here.
no
No.
match here,
So-
but if we do a couple things, it's sort of like a demonstration of our desire to accomplish this.
What's the resolution number?
12.
Resolution number 12. Authorizing application for New York State LGRMIF Records Management Grant. The grant is for $75,000. It's due next week, I think I've mentioned. We have adopted the state's archives record and disposition schedule for New York local government records, LGS1. I think we've included that in the application. And who would like to move the paperwork reduction act?
I'd like to move that.
Second?
Okay. They were eager. All in favor, Christina?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Jacob and Bill, aye. Thank you. Okay.
Can I just say one thing? I wanted to thank, in the past, obviously, everyone who's done this in the past, but right now, Ann Rubin and Alex is taking it on as he's the project manager of all this.
Yeah.
And I just want to say
Yeah.
thank you to them.
Yeah.
It's a huge undertaking.
Yeah.
And they drafted a very well-written document that was very informative and helpful for us,
Yeah.
the board.
Yes, yes.
Thank you to them.
Very good. Numero 5. Reorg, so there were a couple of things we wanted to get done on reorg. Jacob, you brought it up at the last meeting. Did you bring
Just
it
before the last meeting, I think.
just before the last meeting?
Yeah, so we had a email from Julia, who's the chair of the Comp Plan Steering Committee, in support of Christine Kane, who previously was the liaison to that committee when she was on the board, serving as a member, filling one of the vacancies that currently exists for the committee. She has someone who's been involved in the process from the very beginning, has still expressed interest in participating, and Julia has given a recommendation to appoint her to one of those seats. So we have materials for her. I think she's about as strong a candidate for a committee as we could hope for.
With all the planning board experience over the years. And other planning, I mean, she was involved in LWRP, all of that. Okay. They are, by the way, I think the next meeting coming in front of us.
Next meeting, yeah.
To give us an update on,
Yeah.
I spoke to Julia and I guess she, doing a great job of reaching out to all the various groups. So I guess they were just at the junior high.
Yeah, they're getting all of the 7th and 8th graders, I think.
Bingo.
Yeah, all the social studies classes. So it's
I-
a lot of middle schoolers.
I think that's awesome because, you know, as we keep talking about rec, right? This is what it's all about. If we don't find great things for young people to do in our community year-round, this winter is a good example. Year-round, we've got to find places for them, you know. And as things become incredibly expensive for everybody, as somebody who grew up in New York City playing handball, where that's all you needed was to own a handball, go to a park. I mean, I think it's important. Parks are the great equalizer, so it's great we're getting their input
Yeah.
because they know what they want to do
And the committee's planning the next workshop as well. There's not an update about that necessarily, but the next workshop will be in May, is what we're looking towards. So it's gonna be a big push to get people participating in the next round.
Okay, great. Well, it sounds like you're getting a lot of input, which is
Yeah.
super. Okay, is somebody making that motion?
Yeah, I would make a motion to appoint Christine Kane to a seat on the Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee.
What did we do with that? Did we make that 2 years? Is that
I think
what
we did.
They all expire this year, at the end of this year.
Yeah, so for a
Their
term ending in
terms expire.
2026.
The people,
Term.
please, no, nobody expires. Okay,
I'll second.
thank you, Christina. 2026, okay, so they're all ending, their terms are ending. See, you got me messing up. And this is for the one, Do we have a second vacancy?
There's a second vacancy, and Julia requested keeping that vacant for the time being in case there was a need for somebody with special skills or,
Okay.
you know, there's plenty of opportunity for people to participate, but she feels the committee has been working well at the current membership, including Kristen.
Okay. We have a motion, we have a second from Christina. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, William?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Jacob?
Aye.
And Christina?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, so that's 10 members, 10's a lot. That's good. All right, what else do we have? Kenny, who is not here, did have a couple of, let's do housing, shall we?
Yeah, so we already did, I saw David's materials are in here, we already appointed him
Yep.
at a previous meeting.
Yep.
We also have materials from Van Scott, who's been attending the committee meetings for
Okay.
a number of months, so maybe a little over a year at this point. He's been a very active participant, comes with David's recommendation, and, yeah, I think he's been a great add to the committee in the time he's been attending as a guest, so, yeah, he's somebody that has a lot of experience in communication, and, you know, I think the way he's thinking about the community work is really positive, so, I would make a motion to appoint Van Scott to
Okay.
a,
Do we have
What is it?
information?
Van
It's here.
Scott.
Can you send all of these to me?
Yes.
Van,
Van,
V-A-N?
V-A-N, yeah, and it's in the materials for tonight.
Okay.
his materials.
It's just out of order.
Yeah,
Okay. There we go.
and I think that we have vacancies ending in 2027, and I would like to appoint him to one of those ones. I think he's demonstrated, you know, commitment to the work, and, yeah, I think it'd be great to have him formally.
If you've ever watched ABC News and David Muir, that's Van Scott's thing. Okay, you don't realize how many talented people you have in your community until they send you their resume.
Who seconded?
Nobody seconded it yet.
Oh.
Oh, I'm gonna, no, can I second Van?
I hope somebody
Right,
seconded
okay. No, no. Well, Christina wanted some. Come on, Christina, you said. Okay,
You got there first.
you got there first. Jacob, Christina was the second. Terrific. Any further discussion? This is for, what did we do with
A
house?
term ending in 2027. We're on 2-year appointments now with some of them staggered.
All in favor, William?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Jacob?
Aye.
Christina?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, what else do we have? Alright, now I'm confused. I wanna confess, I don't read the Daily Catch. Somebody sent me an article, and they said, I thought Jeff Carter lived in Red Hook. The article in the Daily Catch from the other day, Jeff Carter appearing, Sixth Senses. Resident Jeff Carter, moved?
I don't write that article.
Not to my knowledge. Oh, Roxanne is still there.
He was a Barrytown guy, right?
Yeah. I don't think Jeff's moved. I think we would have known if Jeff Carter moved.
He made the request to be appointed
I don't know
on
if that's-
January 6th, and signed it as being from Red Hook.
Yeah, I don't think so.
And isn't, that needs to be, he needs to be reappointed?
Yeah. I think we just wanna know if he's a Red Hook. Pretty sure he's a resident, no? This is why you can't always believe what you read in these blogs or in these. Okay. So I don't know what to do about that. Let's just confirm his residency. And can we appoint him at the next meeting then?
Yeah, it's a holdover for now.
Yeah, he's a holdover anyway, exactly. Right.
Well, hold on, he did get in touch with me on March 2nd,
Yeah.
asking if he was reappointed to DRC, so,
Well, as Bill points out, He's a holdover, so he's still in his spot.
Has not been reappointed yet,
He's not been
Okay.
but still
I think
serves.
we should just get confirmation.
I'm happy to do that.
I mean, as far as I know, Jeff's still living there, yeah,
I mean, this is
Is-
on,
right?
He's still in
Yeah,
Perrytown, right?
Yeah, remote. Let's,
Take it from my neighbor.
yeah, I mean,
We can do the appointment, and then if he's no longer the
let's
town.
do the,
I mean,
let's do the appointment, let's do
he
the
kind
appointment.
of confirmed it 3 weeks ago, I mean,
Yeah, I
March
know.
2nd.
No, I know, let's do the appointment.
Okay.
This is kinda silly.
But for how long? Is it,
They're 5 years.
they're 5 years, okay,
The
so.
day we start adjusting because of something that's in the Daily Catch is the day we get in trouble. Okay,
So is that
I'd like to make a motion that we reappoint Jeff Carter to the Design Review Committee, the Hamlet Design Review Committee, for a term ending,
This is 23.
2030.
Unless you
Yeah,
need to just
23rd.
shorter.
you used all the fingers correctly?
I think so.
20, term ending 2030. Where are we? Okay, so I made the motion, who seconded?
I'll second it.
Okay, Bill seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor? Jacob?
Aye.
Christina?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Bill, aye. Okay, thank
Sorry,
you.
and the term was ending in
2030.
2030.
2030.
It's a 5-year.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay, so Kenny, who is not here with us again, sent us some information. Let me pull that up. Reappointment, it was related to ag and open space. And that was, apologize for taking your time, but I wanna read it to you, please.
I have it open if you want to look at it.
Okay. Okay, Ag and Open Space and the CPF committees are as follows. Ag and Open Space Committee for reappointments, Sam Rose, Norm Gregg, and Michael Robertson will continue to participate, so let's go there. There they are, so Norman needs to be re-up through 2027. Likewise for Sam Rose. And Michael Robertson does not need to be reappointed. So, I would like to make a motion that we reappoint Sam Rose and Norman Gregg for 2-year terms ending in 2027.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, William?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Jacob?
Aye.
Christina?
Aye.
Okay, thank you all very much.
Does that mean that he has not confirmed with John or with
Chuck.
Chuck?
Yeah,
Okay,
I assume.
okay.
Well,
I know
we'll
that
have to
the,
wait till.
I know the
comes
comp plan
back.
committee met with the Ag and Open Space Committee last week, I believe.
Yeah,
I don't know who was in attendance, we had a CAC meeting happening at the same time,
okay.
but, it shouldn't be too hard to figure out if people participating are so
Yeah.
active.
Yeah.
So I think we would just want Kenny to check in.
Yeah,
I think he
just
was there, so
confirmation.
he,
Yeah, that's
Sure,
all.
sure.
yeah.
Okay. Community Preservation Fund. He has Chris Close will continue to participate, but Chris isn't up, his term is still
Same
good.
with them.
And Emily Mayor. Same thing. Okay. Mary Ann Johnson will continue chairing both committees, but did we already appointed
Yeah.
Mary Ann has chaired about things, okay? We're still looking for additional participants for the committee, so the email will go out now tomorrow of where all the opportunities are. I think we've gotten enough feedback yet on the existings who wanna stay and so on and so forth. All right, anything else on reorg before we move on?
I guess I see, just looking at the comp plan
Yeah.
committee, again, the Village of Tivoli, this says TBD. Sarah Bowden has been attending on behalf
Okay.
of Tivoli, so I think it might be good to note that here. I don't think we have to do an appointment necessarily, but I think it would just be helpful.
Okay, has
For the
she
public to know
been
that.
anointed by her colleagues in Tivoli? Has that role?
I don't know.
I'll check
I don't
with
know that.
Emily
Yeah,
and see if
so she
that's-
has been attending the past
Yeah.
meetings that I've been at, so.
Oh, good, okay. Okay, great, well, that's good to know, and that's good that she's doing that. Yeah. Okay, let's move on to battery energy storage law, shall we? So what I put in today's packet is, just NYSERDA's, model, law, and advice. We obviously would need to tweak it to our own needs. This is a little bit like solar in that where these things end up going has a lot to do with the grid or the project. Right, you can't just put these anywhere. But you may wanna, I don't know if you all have had a chance to take a look at this model law, understand it. I can, if you want, there was a really terrific presentation that we had in my role as the head of the County Supervisors and Mayors Association. We a year ago had folks come in and do a presentation. It was down at BOCES, I think, actually. They did a great job. They actually came back and did it for the Association of Towns just a couple of months ago, or a month ago or so.
They were from NYSERDA.
I think there was somebody from NYSERDA, there was somebody, actually one of the professors from Vassar is very much involved in this. And importantly, a fire professional, a retired New York City fire professional. Because, you know, that's the first thing that comes up is, you know, what is the potential risk as it relates to these systems. So, I mean, we could have a presentation done on this if you feel that you need one in order to get up to speed. Any initial thoughts? Do you wanna just mull this for a little bit and see how you wanna?
I think it'd be great to have a presentation.
You want one? Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's great. I think it'd be a good idea.
Yeah.
Can we couple that with, because everybody is, or almost everybody's hurting from rising utility costs, can we couple that with a presentation, a brief one, about how you can use an individual battery or batteries in your household and how that may benefit people, as well as, you know, that's a very different animal than, you know, a large scale battery system. But one of the things, and we had a presentation here, the Energy Committee had a presentation from Jeff Irish, who we've known over the years. He started the first solar company here. He's been, you know, a consultant working with the town over the years. And he did a very interesting presentation about how, you know, just having one battery in your house can really do a lot to save you on utility costs.
Would that be,
Marrying
in
solar would.
here, there's a section on tier 1 battery storage systems, would that be a tier 1 or is that a different thing than?
You know, I almost believe it's below tier 1, but let me refer to what they use for the limitation, the threshold for tier 1.
I don't know that, maybe it
Yeah.
doesn't actually.
It doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily matter, but it might be a good idea to have them like both come
Good to
together.
understand, yeah.
Yeah, talk about the pros and cons of both. Okay.
Yeah, I think it'd be helpful to just
Okay.
hear what exists and what recommendations.
Okay.
What-
So I'll try to, I mean, I don't know that we can arrange that for the next meeting, but can we look at this and we can maybe, I'll go pick some already adopted best laws that are out there. There aren't that many yet, cause it's
This
emerging.
model's been out for a while, though.
The model's been out for a while,
I mean,
but we also probably wanna take a look at, cause there are some specific things to each community that are relevant. Maybe by the end of April, first meeting in May, whatever's realistic to get scheduled on board. These people know how to, they've done these presentations, so it's, you know, it's a plug and play for them, but it's a matter of getting the schedules to align. Okay, anything else on this topic? Okay, from how to energize to how to libate. Municipalities have 30 days. For the folks at home, one of our roles as your elected officials is to respond to applications for liquor license in our community. And so there is an application that has been processed by Roland Fields LLC, that's in the former bowling alley space. Here's what confuses me on this one, and again, I'm not saying for or against it, not. What confuses me is that this type of establishment, restaurant, full kitchen and full menu required, but that is not what they have a permit for. They don't have a permit for a restaurant.
As an accessory use?
They don't have a permit for a restaurant. In fact, they received a permit for an amusement, a recreation place, amusement or whatever brand. I apologize, I'll get the term correct tomorrow, which is not helpful. But they do not have a restaurant at that site, and they do not have a permit for a restaurant. Doesn't mean that they won't get one. In the R3, that requires a special permit. So, again, I'm not sure that the state agency's gonna care about that, but it seems to me that we should at least include that in the response, that they currently are not a restaurant. They don't have a permit to operate a restaurant, right?
Well, I mean,
wouldn't that make sense?
it seems to me before we go and say that to the state, that we should reach out to the applicant, the property owner, and see what that looks like.
They had pending things before the planning board anyway, because I was at the last meeting, and there were issues related to signage and a variety of other, they're operating, but they're waiting for some additional approvals on some additional things, so, the only question I have is, you know, listen, it's been a bowling alley, it was a bowling alley when I lived here in 1980, and they served out, I think you could buy beer. The issue of them having alcohol is a long-going thing, that doesn't really bother me. The only issue is if we approve this, does it grant some kind of, does it give them something to be able to get a restaurant in without going through that process?
But we don't approve this.
Well, we don't approve this.
No,
They're
this is just
asking
SLA,
for-
right, this is SLA, right?
This is SLA. Well,
Yeah.
you must have done a lot of work with SLA in the
I
past,
did.
right?
If we're not taking any action, then that would be, it's entirely separate process in terms of what their local, what the zoning allows and what their building is approved for.
But we might wanna comment if they're not permitted to.
I think it's inherent
This
upon
use.
us to say, at the present time, they do not have a permit to operate a restaurant there. Doesn't mean they won't get one, because it is allowed in that zone. Special permit. Again, not commenting on, and I'm not sure the state's gonna necessarily care. I think they, you know, they tend to look into, right, Bill, they look into sort of the history of the
History.
people who are asking for the liquor
As
license.
well as the premises itself and how it
Okay.
operated for a long time. But, you know, even if we didn't take an action in 30 days, it would be kind of like when we send things to the county, in 30 days, you don't hear back, then
Yeah.
then they're fine. That's up to SLA to decide.
Yeah. Well, I certainly don't wanna send something back that says, no, we don't
No.
want them to be considered for this, but I think it's inherent upon us to respond to the fact that there is no restaurant there is no permit to operate a restaurant there. And type of establishment, it is, indoor recreational, that's what they have a permit to operate.
What would the response look like to this? Is this something that we would,
Yeah, it's
Deanna would
just,
type up a memo?
no, it'll come
and
out,
it would
it'll come out of
come out of your office?
my office on behalf of the board, and that's all I would simply, unless you can think of other things that we would wanna comment on. I don't know these individuals,
Well, why
one's
don't we,
from Scars.
what I would suggest is we find out and we find out what the status is of their building and zoning, and as liaison to building and zoning, I'm happy to do that. And then we could write the memo stating
No,
if
I'm sorry,
they have,
I
or
didn't
if
make, I didn't make that clear.
Yes.
I already asked,
you did,
I already asked Brent.
okay.
And he said, no, I've only given them a permit to continue
And
as
they
a,
don't have
as a
anything
recreational
pending they don't have pending application?
for a restaurant. It
And
doesn't, it
this-
doesn't necessarily matter.
I mean, I don't think that this form indicates the type of operation that they have. It lists only restaurants, recorded music. It doesn't even say that there are athletic activities, I don't know if that should be on here, but this doesn't feel like a full representation of what they're doing.
I think it's, all I'm saying is that it says type of establishment, restaurant. It doesn't have a I mean, how could we not respond to this? This is, it's just a fact. There is no restaurant there, they don't have a permit to operate a restaurant. We would just simply say at the present time, the establishment is permitted for blah, blah, blah. Recreation or music.
I'm supportive of that, but I think that somebody should reach out, and again, I'm happy to be the person to do this, but I think somebody should reach out to them to give them a heads up that that's the response.
Yeah, I'd be happy to
Because if
call them,
it's-
yeah.
If it's, there's a we don't have to respond to this.
We can CC them.
Until, well, I'm saying before we
No,
issue
we have to-
we have to respond by April,
We don't have a meeting
Fourth.
between now and then.
correct.
Right.
So we have to decide right now what we're
Yeah.
doing. So I'm in support of what you're saying, I'm
Yeah.
just saying that I think that somebody should personally reach out to them
I'd be
to
happy to.
clarify,
Yeah.
what their intentions are.
Yeah.
And if there's some nuance to it, that should be included in our response.
I just think we
Right,
should
I
take a
don't
quick,
wanna.
we
yeah,
should
go
take a
ahead.
quick poll to make sure there's nobody on the board, I mean, unfortunately Kenny's not here, that would object to them having a liquor license. I mean, I think this is what this form is,
Right.
so it's, you know, if we're all in agreement that we don't object to that,
I have
then,
no idea who these people are. Yeah. We didn't have no basis to object, yeah.
yeah,
That's what I'm
so if
saying.
we're not objecting to the application for liquor license, then I'm happy to proceed with something that says, and by the way, you don't, are you waiting to get, are you waiting to have a restaurant before you serve liquor? I mean, if you go bowling across the river.
No, if they wanna come and apply to be a restaurant, I mean, that's none of our, if it's allowed by code, it's allowed by code.
No, all I'm
Far be
saying,
it from us to
well, I'm
say,
saying,
what are your intentions, that's really not,
if
yeah.
SLA gives them a license to
They
serve
wanna-
liquor, I guess the only question is the way they wrote this application suggests
Yeah.
that that's in conjunction with
Yes.
serving of food. I think you're right,
Yes.
Christine, they need to know,
Well,
like,
they
we're not
can't-
gonna
they
object
can't
to the
put bar-
liquor license.
They can't put bar tavern, right, if they just wanna do alcohol, cause that's not allowed in R3. it's not allowed in Encore. Again, this is just a fact thing that we would send as part of our response, and yes, we should give them a heads up and just say, we received your form, the board discussed it, there did not seem to be objections to having a license there, but just note that we, in our response, will let the state know at the current time, it is not, there is not a permit to operate a restaurant there. It is permitted to do, you know, indoor recreation, that's all. No comment, I don't wanna start prying into what are your plans, what do you want, you know,
No,
that's not.
But
No,
if what you're
appropriate.
saying, if what you're saying is you can't serve alcohol in that district without serving food,
Yeah,
then
That's what I thought
the
it
state
said.
may not know that our zoning prohibits the serving of alcohol without food. I mean,
But they're not saying that though, so like, I think we're muddying our own waters with that. It's like, they're saying, their application says
Yeah.
restaurant.
Yeah.
They could have
That's
their
fine.
own reasons for that. Our
Yeah.
zoning,
Yeah.
if they do not have a permit for a restaurant,
yeah,
they don't have a permit for a restaurant, we should
Yeah.
let them
well,
know.
no, my concern is they get the license from SLA, they start serving alcohol, not understanding fully that that's not allowed without the restaurant. That's important.
I imagine they know that, but if you want in the conversation, when I speak to them, I'd be happy to make sure that
More
they're aware
information
of
is
that.
always better.
Okay.
For what it's worth, it doesn't seem like their website includes anything about a restaurant.
Oh, you're up there.
Robert,
Yes, Al.
what does Chris Shale say about this? I mean, if he doesn't have a permit for a restaurant, he should not be making the application.
We're just gonna point this out. We're not gonna tell people what they should or shouldn't do. If people wanna apply for something that they will or won't get, that's their right. We're not gonna interfere with that. We're certainly not gonna give advice. That's not what we do. We try to be helpful, but we don't, you know, try to do those things, as you know, Al. So I think all we can simply do is to point out to SLA that at the current moment, they don't have a licensed operating restaurant. Without comment, without, you know.
And that we're in support of the liquor license.
No, we're not gonna say that either, cause how can we be in support of a liquor license for something that isn't permitted to have liquor?
Well, I heard Bill say we don't object to, so.
Well, but unless you are familiar with this applicant, I'm not sure that you are in a position to do that.
I think we can be silent on support.
All right.
And maybe that's the, what we say to the applicant. We say like, this isn't about the merits of, you know, supporting or not supporting getting a license, but at present day, you don't have a permit to operate a restaurant. And we're going to be letting the state know that in our comment.
They're gonna be before the planning board again at the next meeting, I believe. I haven't seen the schedule, but what was discussed at the last meeting.
I think
There-
it's
there are
just a
other-
ramp or something, right?
Well,
Somebody
there's an
told me it was
there's
just
an ADA,
ramp.
there's an ADA ramp, but
Yeah.
there's some other, construction things going on.
But it's not a special use permit for a restaurant, right?
No, it's not.
Okay.
Is that next week or is that in 2 weeks?
It's the 6th.
Okay. So just-
It's
so
the
be
first,
after
the
that,
first
then.
Monday, yeah, the 6th.
Okay.
But shouldn't the planning board be aware of this? Do they get this? Do they see one of these?
No,
I don't
No.
remember seeing one when I was.
No.
no,
Yeah,
they do not.
I don't remember ever seeing one on the planning board.
They do not.
Yeah, it's just, you know.
But it may be good for them to know that we received.
I agree, sharing the information is helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's definitely an overlap there,
Yeah,
so.
yeah, the right hand should be knowing what the left hand
Yes.
is.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I think we have consensus on how to simply respond and say at the present time, right? Is that what we're saying? And to make sure that the applicant is also aware that response will be, and we'll CC the applicant in our response. That seems only courteous to do. Right?
And we're gonna reach out to them before you send that response.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Or Brandon can.
No,
Oh,
I'll reach
okay.
out, because it's the board who's
Well, that's true.
responding to this.
That's true.
It's not,
That's true.
it's not building.
That's true.
Okay. All right, next up. Okay. $40 by $80 is the size of the pool. It's a decent pool. And again, just to refresh the public's memory, this is, Camp Rising Sun is the property on Oriole Mills Road. We're doing a project with Winnicke Land Trust where we hope to protect basically all the open space, or almost all of the open space associated with the camp as part of a state WQIP project. 142 acres. They had been renting out the campgrounds for the last 4 summers to Ramapo. Ramapo has indicated they will not be using the camp for this year. The foundation that owns Camp Rising Sun wants to know if we would like to rent the pool. To which we would then need to figure out what it would cost to rent the pool. They just so you know, they have a property grounds person who will be there. They test the water 3 times a day. They have all newish systems, I think like 3 years old. I got a quick tour of it. I brought rec guys there as well. As you know, this has been an objective to try to have, we've talked about how the town of Red Hook for many years has not had things like a high school auditorium or access to the river, or in this case, a town property for swimming. Most folks think when they drive by the Red Hook Rec Pool that it is a public pool. It's open to people in and out of the community, but it's you know, a pool that I hear from a lot of our residents can't afford to join for the summertime. I think it's $600 something now for the summer season. So we would, if we were interested, and you all probably want to go see it, but if we were interested, we would need to pay a certain amount in rent to offset the cost that they would have of keeping the pool operable. They would do all the maintenance, which is great. There'd be no maintenance associated with it, Christina. We just would need to write a check. And the second thing is we would need to get the lifeguards. So they don't provide lifeguards, so we would need to go ahead and do that. And maybe some of our camp counselors are capable, who knows?
Or there might
Our
be
rec
people who've been
commission,
doing it for Ramapo. that
who
maybe
might
we
be,
could see if
who
we
might
could
be
connect with
available,
those
so I made that request as well.
Rhinebeck.
So, or Rhinebeck or just other
there's
lifeguards,
other
there
lifeguards
are
around.
requirements
Yeah.
about how many hours you can work,
Right.
and you have to be on and off, cause it's a very dedicated thing. So they would like to know if we're interested, you know, how many hours, what days, what, you know, when's the start date, when's the end, and then they would calculate a rent, and then we would look at what would it cost to staff it with lifeguards. That's the only staffing we need to do, if we were interested in that. And I think it's a wonderful opportunity for us to try it, right? And it would be in a way introduce, maybe we could talk to them about, even though the trails will not be ready, the project will, I mean, when I say the trails will not be ready, the trails are basically there. It's like cooking ham.
We're talking about Oriole Mills Road, this is
We're talking about Camp Rising Sun property.
on Oriole Mills Road.
Exactly.
Okay.
So people could actually swim, and then they could go walk if they would give us permission, early permission, before this project was completed, because it's all grassy trails anyway. I mean, it's literally like the property's right over here, like on the other side of the bush. Maybe you could even see, well, you can't quite see, but suffice it to say, it might be a nice combination. I'm excited about it. I can't tell you how many adults, forget about kids, how many not, like I said earlier,
see
it's
Teresa's
not
hand
getting any cheaper, yeah.
I just have a question on the insurance and the liability. Who carries that? Would the town carry that? Or is it co-insured with Camp Rising Sun?
You know, we get this question a lot, and I just want to say for the public, for those of you who are engaged on the boat club issue, the town carries a lot of liability coverage. That coverage goes wherever we go. So if we manage a program, and that program can be street day cleanup, where we expose people to the roadsides, that program could be the stream fishing on April 11th. If there's a program that we are involved with, that we are running and that we manage, our liability coverage, the many millions of dollars of coverage that we have, goes with us.
So it doesn't increase because you're taking on the pool?
We always let our insurer know of any changes in our policy, whether we acquire another property, which as always we acquire another piece of equipment, for example. This is not material. If your question is, will there be a material change in cost of our insurance? No, it will not. If that's what you're driving at. But
No, it's just a curiosity.
It's a good question.
it's a good question. But yeah, coverage goes wherever we go. Well, what do you think? Should I work with Camp Rising Sun to see, and the rec and all of that, and give you guys a tour and see if maybe we can put something, a proposal together?
Maybe an A and a B proposal, or like a
Okay.
I mean, I have no
What's
idea.
A, what's B?
Well, I mean, it's,
Give
I
me a
mean,
couple of options.
I guess I have no idea what, you know, ROM costs we're talking about, so like, is it,
It's free?
could it be like, all summer long from, you know, open every day, or, and from, say, whatever the rec park pool hours are, and kind of mirroring that versus,
Yeah.
you know,
So you want some options? Yeah.
some options,
great.
or weekends, or,
Great.
you know, 4 o'clock to
Great.
9 o'clock.
I think that's good. We get a sense of what, you
Should
know,
we
what-
talk to, I mean, maybe we talk to the, rec park, pool people,
Mhm.
and see what what peak hours are, to understand that, and that kind of could be an option.
Mhm. Yeah, their hours tend to be, I looked at that, because I was curious as well. And I was surprised, they open kind of late, I thought. So when the camp had it, they opened at 10. I think Rec Park Pool opens at
I don't know.
12:30-ish. I mean, I think a lot of times they're using for the swim teams, right?
But there are people that swim in
They're in
the,
there
in
earlier.
the morning.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
they have lap swim.
Yeah.
They have dedicated lap swim
Yeah.
time. Which would also be an issue on the options is, you know, is this just open rec, or are we gonna have some dedicated time maybe for adults who work during the day who wanna come and swim laps after work?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's all important that we explore those options.
Well, yes, we should. I can only give you my opinion off the top of my head is, I would hate for us to finally have an opportunity where the public can enjoy a pool in the summertime, and then we start putting various restrictions on when you can and cannot come based upon what you wanna do in the pool. That make sense?
Well, I would take a look at the Rhinebeck pool
Yeah.
and how they're structured. I mean, it's a
Okay.
public pool, and most, like where I lived in Montgomery County, Maryland,
Yeah.
they had public pools.
Yeah.
And that's sort of how they did it. They had, you know, a large dedicated period for rec, for kids, you know, for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And then they did separate maybe 3 lanes, and you would reserve, you know, you do a process, because people like to swim laps. I'm just saying that, you know, when you offer an opportunity like this, that's the question you're gonna get, and can you do it?
If you show up and there's an opportunity to swim laps, great.
Well, it doesn't quite work like that in a pool like this, because when it's rec,
No, it
the
doesn't.
whole pool gets used, and then when somebody starts swimming laps, I mean, I'm familiar with this because my wife is a serious swimmer, you have to have dedicated lap time, you just do. And I'm in favor of this, but I do think that we should look at how others are structuring it in terms of the lap time. I mean, and usually that's in the later part of the day,
Or early
Yeah.
morning.
or early morning, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, the
Alright,
core of the day is recreation.
I need convincing, because the last thing I want is somebody to go to that pool and not be able to use it because somebody is doing laps. I mean, I think that the whole idea is that we're trying to fit a need
Well,
into
the
it that is
the
within
rec
a
side
rec
pool
need.
works that
wants to
way.
do laps and they can't do laps because it's not.
Yeah.
The rec park
Yeah,
pool
that's right,
has,
You
you
can
can't
do both.
take up the whole pool doing
Yeah,
laps,
no,
that's
but maybe
right,
you just do a
that's the
portion
rec.
of it, yeah.
Okay, you
could set
wanna
a-
split it up
You
a
could set a
little
few
bit.
lanes.
yes, and
Okay.
they do that at the
Okay,
rec
fair
park pool.
enough, fair enough, if we can accommodate everybody, yeah, great, okay. But I would hate to, like, people to show up and go, oh, they're all being used.
Well, you just have to communicate when
Okay.
those things
Yeah.
are, and listen, people who are serious lap swimmers, they know how to share a lane, the two they do, I mean, it's just like the pickleball, the people that are serious about it, they will find a way to make it work for them. But I think if you're gonna go this route, and this is a really the right size of pool to have some lap availability, and you're right, Jacob, I mean, like the rec park pool, there were hours where like 2 laps are just
Yeah.
2 lanes, and they put the things in the water so the kids don't go over into the laps. I mean,
And I think this is a little bit down the line as far as like, I think it's something that would be a good no matter what. Like ultimately, it's
Yeah.
something like in terms of format. But I think that's something we can decide once we have a sense, if we're able to visit and,
Yeah,
maybe do a little bit of research and see what other pools in the area are doing for the public.
okay. Okay, great, exciting. Exciting, so we need, I need to get working, quickly, because, summer will soon be upon us. We will, so first thing I'll do is I will get back to the foundation and say, hey, yeah, we are kinda interested, but we have to put the pieces together here, and we, would wanna maybe posit a couple of options to you, and you could price it out for us, and then we'll need to do a budget for lifeguards and so on and so forth. Okay. Alright, I got my marching order. Anything else before we go on that? Good. Lap swimmers, I married a collegiate swimmer. I have VHS tapes of all that family going back, and you can't even see who's in the pool, all you see is the.
It's just splashing.
Okay. All right, let's do committee and board reports. We're gonna go alphabetically, it seems. Assessor's office. All right, just finishing with the 2026 exemption renewals, deadline of March 1st. March 1st is exemption day. Okay, we are also currently completing the municipality's level of assessment for the 2026 roll and preparing for the tentative assessment roll that is on May 1st, 2026, Grievance Day, 4th Tuesday. All of these things that you know, here are the hours in the assessments. Office, sales in both towns and villages continue to be strong. Most recent sale list is from February, 10 single-family sales, the highest at, and I think she means 1,000,004. There's some kind of typo there. Or maybe 1,040,000, and the lowest at 394. Commercial sale in the village with a sale price of 1,470,000. There were also 2 vacant land sales both in the town, and thanking others. So one of the things I wanted to just remind folks, because I brought it up earlier this morning, we are a 100% equalization community. We signed on with the state, which means that we value our properties at 100%. You would think all municipalities do that, they don't. In order to maintain our 100% equalization rate, we trend, which basically says we get from the state, we get all this data. They do it in buckets. They show us residential properties, how they have sales and other. They do it not necessarily just for Reddick, but in the immediate vicinity. And so this year, upcoming year, it looks like the trend once again will show an increase. I think it's 8%. I think that's what the assessor and the state settled on, would still keep us at 100% equalization. So you will get, at some point, your notice of assessment going up 8%. And again, if we can keep taxes the way they are, you would see a declining a value of 8% in your bill, for example. So know that if you own residential, commercial, I think even for vacant, you are going to get, once again, a higher assessed valuation. It should come as no surprise to you. You were all smart in buying property here in the Hudson Valley. Building and zoning. Who's doing building and zoning? Christina, that's you,
Sure.
right?
Building and zoning report of March 2026, 17 permits issued, 65 inspections, 73 COs, 2 complaints, and a total revenue of $4,125.
That's a partial, right, partial month. But are we seeing a little bit of a slowdown? Probably. I mean, Christina, you and I have talked offline about this thing, just maybe a little bit change in the characteristic, maybe a little less new builds, and certainly here we've had, for those of you who have been around for a very long time, and some of you here tonight have been around for a while, we've had some of the fastest growth, we'd like to say smart growth, but fastest growth in the community since probably the 80s, if not earlier. We, over the last, and I've shown you that bar chart, had single-family homes well over 150, I think, in the last 4 or 5 years in this community, helping to drive up our tax base. Our tax roll will exceed $2 billion in this new roll. You'll hear me talk about that and bless you, and the tax base that exists in the 2 villages, and how, in the newsletter, and how their tax base makes it really challenging in order for them to meet the needs of the services that they provide. Much smaller, our 2 villages, what their tax base is, 300 and something million for the village of Red Hook, and under 200 million, maybe just about to go over in the village of Tivoli. By contrast, the single village of Rhinebeck has a roll that's over $800 million. So makes it a challenge to provide the services going into this, high inflation years that we've experienced, healthcare, so on and so forth. So anyway, that said, it is reasonable for us to expect that we will see less new single-family new home construction. Let's get that workforce affordable housing thing going on Cookingham. That will help matters, but we should see a decline. We're not seeing a decline yet in renovations and so on and so forth, but just managing expectations, because every single one of those 102 lots in Tradition is sold. The whole project's sold out. It's being built out. It's been a model that's being used in a lot of communities. And the developers, getting lots of awards, not just for that project, but for the big Eastdale project down about 25 minutes after this, so. Okay, I am rambling, so I think I should stop doing that. But just again to talk about building in our community. Okay, Highway Department, and Teresa, thank you for being here with us tonight. We have our highway superintendent with us. And I must admit, I have not had time to look at the request for the purchases yet, but Jacob, Teresa,
Yeah.
who's
Yes,
doing,
Teresa, you're here. Would
who's
you like
doing
to-
it? Yeah.
Would you like to speak
Who's
about,
doing
we have both the March report and then the end of year report. So I think maybe we could start with March. There's a request for authorization for 2 pickup trucks, and if you want to talk about,
We're
What's
due
that?
to replace 2 of our pickup trucks. Due to emergency response use, the highway department has determined that these vehicles are not suitable for replacement with EV alternatives. Crew cab with utility body and liftgate, it will replace truck number 3, a 2011 Chevy 2500. The estimated replacement cost is $75,550. Standard pickup, this truck will replace truck number 1, 2016 Chevy 3500. The estimated replacement cost is $58,000. We do have a plow on the truck now, which we will transfer from the, to this new truck. It's used to plow smaller roads and cul-de-sacs. We've had success with the New York State Vehicle Marketplace, mini bid contract in pricing and purchasing these vehicles. You have to put the bids out to everybody in the state of New York who carries these vehicles on the vehicle marketplace, so they're pretty competitive. The first step in doing this is to get authorization from the board to put in an application. So we do have money left in the HT equipment fund, and we also have dollars in the CHIPS account that we did not use for the utility van. But as Robert said, we have lots of reserves. The DB reserve fund is over $660,000, and the B reserve fund is over $1.5 million. In the past, we have had the board transfer from those reserve funds to make these smaller purchases. If it were a plow truck, they'd usually go out to bond over a number of years. But that's at the discretion of the board, if they prefer that I do CHIPS money. We do have it available from last year's rollover. We don't know what next year is going to be until April 1st, but the feeling is it will stay the same or increase according to what I saw at Advocacy Day. We've already obtained the approval for the CHIPS use. You have to put in an application and ask them if it's okay. It wasn't with the van, but it is with these pickup trucks. So I'm looking for the initial authorization to get the pricing to bring back to you for the approval and what type of funding you want to use.
I have a question, Teresa. It's not an apples to apples comparison, but perhaps because I don't know the market for these trucks, but from an emergency response perspective, I mean, the ultimate emergency response vehicle is a police car. And our village has a fully electric, a Tesla. Police departments across the country, as well as state agencies, and even before I retired from the federal government, we bought a fleet of fully electric police cars. I'm just curious, that argument for me, I don't understand the kind, because I don't have a pickup truck and I don't drive that kind of car, but are there not pickup trucks that have caught up in the technology for emergency response the way police cars have?
No.
Why, what do you mean, no, why? What part
So
of
in
that?
research that I've done,
Yeah,
everything that you do with a pickup truck will reduce the range. So
Yeah.
if you're plowing, you're going to reduce the range. If you're carrying cargo, you're gonna reduce the range. If you're trailing, you're gonna reduce the range. Cold weather
Well, that always reduces the range.
reduces the range. In my opinion, we're looking for equal to or better than what we already have. And in my opinion, an electric vehicle will not be equal to or better than.
Okay.
Response time is important. Every minute counts. You have to plan when you're charging your EV vehicles. And if you're out there and you don't know what the range is going to be, then you might get stuck out there. So I understand that the board intends to replace the entire fleet with electric vehicles. And if and when they're ready, that might be my opinion too. But right now, I'm the one who's responsible for getting the staff out there meeting emergencies. And I think that using an electric vehicle in place of a traditional vehicle at this point in time would not be the best thing for our department.
I just respectfully disagree. I mean, I've studied, this is a
You can
topic.
disagree, Robert, we've disagreed
Yeah.
before.
I actually disagree with you, Robert. I think that,
I haven't disagreed yet,
if-
how could you disagree with me?
well, I haven't stated my opinion yet, but I think that these are not commuter vehicles. I think the last purchase of an EV vehicle, we talked about that was a lighter use vehicle, and I think that, we made that decision when that made sense, but, in terms of, heavy duty, equipment that's gonna have to be relied on, I think we should take the recommendation of our highway superintendent.
Do we have a sense of how many miles would typically go into a day's use for one of these vehicles? Like, how
If
many?
you can tell me how long a snowstorm is, I could tell you.
Okay.
That's one of the issues.
Yeah.
We could be out there for hours.
Mhm.
If I have an electric vehicle, that's a plow truck, and I'm out there for hours, right? Then I have to pull it off the road and bring it back and charge it.
There's no redundancy in that case, yeah.
We don't, the police
I understand.
department.
That's why I asked, that's why I
Hang on.
wasn't disagreeing.
I would like
Hang on.
to, I would like to finish.
Yeah, go ahead.
The police department has multiple vehicles.
That's right.
These are specific vehicles. The utility truck carries the chainsaws, carries the crews, takes them out there. You know, you're clearing the roads. You don't know how long you're going to be out there. The plow truck, the same thing. If you had come in a plow truck during operations and see that you have to go back and forth 15 times to clear a cul-de-sac, and every single time you're pushing that snow, you're reducing the range of that electric vehicle.
Yep.
And you're not gonna know when it stops working. What happens when the power goes out? Does the fast charger work when the power goes out in town?
Yes, because we have a generator.
The fast charger?
Yep.
I was under the impression that the slow chargers are hooked to the generator. And again, I'm responsible for
Sure,
making
sure.
sure that my department
Sure,
operates properly.
sure.
You're responsible for saying, we have the money to spend on the equipment that you need. In this particular instance, I don't think that we need electric vehicles. I think we need traditional vehicles. I don't think the electric vehicles are equal to or beyond the traditional vehicles at this point in time.
Okay, and I respect that opinion, but I disagree with that opinion. As somebody who studies this issue on a regular basis, weekly probably, you
The
know,
highway
and I
department
would also
issue?
say, hang on, I just wanna say, we have a policy now that we have adopted that says we must all look at green procurement options, and we must put out there why we are pursuing a green option. There are pickups, and by the way, this is a myth, and the reason why I think it's important to respond is because oftentimes in emerging technologies, there are myths out there about, you know, there was a time where people said, don't plug in your phone because it's gonna start a fire, right? And you're never gonna use a phone, a touchscreen phone. The range on a fossil fuel vehicle also goes down when you're plowing, okay? A lot of these trucks don't get anywhere near, I think it's this Chevy Silverado, which now gets 440 miles. Now, reduced in the cold, you're plowing, even if it's 200 miles. Are you suggesting that you would have in a shift that truck going more than 200 miles without having the time to go to the fast charger to increase that? The torque, the thing about electric vehicles, and I think Bill's point is that if you're going to quickly wanting to get somewhere, whether you're police or other emergency responder, the torque of an electric vehicle is well beyond what a fossil fuel vehicle can do these days. Fossil fuel vehicles are poor performing vehicles relative to electric. They're not as reliable. Now, I know people say, well, I heard that the school bus or whatever, but the technology with batteries is developing and has developed considerably from the time when many of us got electric vehicles in 2017, but it's a whole decade later now, and they're much more reliable. They stay out of the shop, right? So,
They had 6 recalls on the highway superintendent's vehicle in Milan so far, and he's had it for less than a year.
okay, well, I don't
It's
know
an
what they chose.
electric.
I don't know what they chose.
It's an
So-
electric Mustang
Yeah.
SUV, and
Yeah.
he uses it for his personal vehicle. And so far, they've had 6 recalls.
Yeah.
You study the electric, I study the highway departments.
Yeah.
As vice president of the New York State Association of Highway Superintendents, I have information from all over the state on who is using these, who is not using these, and why. Your opinion and my opinion are different.
Right, but we have a procurement policy that we
I
have adopted
understand the
that says
procurement
we must
policy.
go through the process of comparing what the green options are,
I have done that, Robert.
but you haven't presented it to us.
Well, I'm sorry then, I am not going to apply for these trucks.
Okay. Let's continue on with the report. Jacob, do you wanna take the rest of this up?
Sure.
I mean, I think, I'm sorry to see Teresa walk out, but I think that for me, this is not a rejection of EV vehicles, but I support what she's saying, that they're not appropriate for this use, and
Well,
I mean, it would've been
Christina,
nice
if
to
you
have the
study the
information.
topic, yeah, if you study
Like,
the topic.
that's why I was asking if
and-
she listened to the range, and she
Yeah.
didn't.
Look,
Or didn't
We
present
ran
at
into
least.
this issue with the van, and again, our policy requires that we compare and contrast,
yeah,
right, and we have the information.
And we have purchased, you know, fossil fuel vehicles in the past.
Yeah.
what
and
is
it
the
doesn't
policy
exist.
exactly that we're?
The green procurement policy, yeah,
Yeah,
I'll
I
send
think
it to you so
that'd
you
be
can
great.
read up
You
on
should,
it.
Yeah.
you should, because I'm a data-driven person.
Yeah.
That's why I said it wasn't an apples-to-apples comparison between police vehicles and these kinds of trucks. But I would say this, there are other communities that have chosen to go EV. And if I was making the justification, if I was writing the justification memo to go with fossil fuel, I would at least have information from some other communities
Just to compare.
that, just to show that, like, they're not as efficient, or they, you know, they're not really the right thing for right now. I have no problem supporting the purchase of conventional fuel combustion engines. It's just that we have a policy, we have to operate within the policy, and all it really requires is a justification memo. That we didn't get, and
I
that's
think we
why
approved-
I asked.
We approved a fossil fuel vehicle last year, right?
Last year?
Last year or the year before or something, I mean,
Pretty
pretty recently,
Yeah.
because, there weren't options
As
available.
well as a chipper
Yeah,
and some other
it was
things.
like the, I don't know if it's the forklift or
One of those.
something like that.
But I mean, there's electric forklifts. Anyway, the point is, and for the folks at home, it's not just about being green. it's not just about saving on emissions. It's also about saving dollars. So the fossil fuel vehicle that she's advocating for, which maybe we would come to the conclusion is appropriate, it costs money to put fossil fuels in that vehicle. We have excess energy that is being produced on top of that highway garage right now. So we have the capability of having, in essence, free electric fueling that vehicle. So it's about dollars and cents.
And the maintenance costs as well.
You know, and the maintenance cost. I mean, as somebody who's been driving electric vehicles now for 9 years, you take it in for tires. I mean, yes, she brought up an example of, and I would never, no offense for it, I would never advocate for, a Mustang, although we do know people, right? One on the water board, by the way, who has one of those, right, who drives one, but, that's, whether it's fossil fuel or electric, whether it's emerging technologies, you have to look at who has the dependable models and reliable and
So besides that, what would be the process in moving this forward? What would we, like any other action would
We'll
we?
send Teresa the green procurement policy to make sure that we're complying with that, and ask her to please compare. And
Justification memo.
And that's it, and to try to, I know it's extra work, it is, but these are important issues. Saving the taxpayer money, saving on emissions. This is why we've set up a resilient and a sustainable municipality here with charging stations. Look, building and zoning has had that truck 5 years, 4 years?
Has it been 4 or 5?
It feels like 4 or 5 years. It's been totally reliable.
My
It's a
question,
pickup truck,
my
right?
question though
Totally reliable.
is like, apart from whether it's EV or not, and she's saying she needs new vehicles, would we not consider, appropriating those funds and then reviewing it? Isn't that kind of what would be the next step in?
No, we would look at the requests, and then we would decide if we want to appropriate those funds for the purchase,
Or authorize the bidding.
authorized
Authorize.
to go out, but it also, we would need to know whether it's buying salt, whether it's, and she's, we've had some correspondence from the county on piggybacking related to salt. We need to make sure that everything is done in compliance with our procurement policy, so.
It seems to me like the compliance with the procurement policy, I agree that okay, that can happen, but that doesn't necessarily seem like that should stop the process. If there's.
Well, I don't think we wanna stop the process, if anything, we wanna accelerate. I'm offering my time to send some, and I did with the van, by the way,
Yeah.
to say, take a look at these models, only because it just happens to be one of the few things I know something about.
Would we need to take an action?
And
Tonight?
I don't think we
Yeah, I
have
don't
an
know,
action to take.
I'm,
I don't think we have an action to take tonight except to try and assist. I'd be happy to take out the time to provide what I know to be the electric options for her to at least put in the comparison, so when she compares and contrasts and says, I still wanna go with whatever, she would at least have
And
the
she-
benefit of my little bit of
And
knowledge
she
related.
she has done that for us in the past.
Yeah.
We had to buy a new chipper. There've been a number of things where she just gave us the data and showed us why a conventional combustion engine was the appropriate choice, and we approved it. It's just, we did as a board approve the green policy, and you need to be able to justify your actions. It's kind of like a sole source contract. I mean, you just have to say why it's the right way to go.
And we have done an enormous amount of work to set ourselves up so that we can have green energy and excess green energy that we can use for these purposes. And so to then say, oh, you've got 10 charging stations and you wanna convert your fleet, and by the way, all these add up to points with state programs, all those points add up to grant funding, and guess what we use the grant funding for? More things to keep our footprint. I mean, you look at this building is nothing like the building that we inherited 10 or 11 years ago. We've converted away from fossil fuels, we've insulated the building, it's got solar on it. So, yeah, I think it's, and I'm very in touch with our community and how our community feels about all this stuff. And not everybody agrees on everything, no matter what it is. But our community is very much in favor of trying to reduce emissions, air pollution. Now, we had Eli Duker in here talking about air pollution, right?
Yeah.
From BARD last year. And so what people don't realize is an exhaust is an exhaust that we all breathe in. And if you have the opportunity to remove exhaust from our community, especially the town of Red Hook, where most people are just passing through. That's the reality, because we live at the concert of 3 state highways coming through our community, so there's a lot of car and truck traffic and emissions coming through. So whatever we can do, I think we at least need to put in the time and compare the options before we go ahead and move forward. And I know that's frustrating for people who, are used to working with, it's true of all the departments here. I mean, we didn't take credit cards before. We didn't do, automatic banking. We didn't do, any new technology always is met with some level of skepticism and concern. I think it's a fair point that she makes, is she's responsible for the department, so she needs to know that that truck's gonna work. So that's
And that's where I
fair.
think that the range is important, to have some estimate, right? Like, if we know that we're driving 500 miles in a typical storm, then that's the answer. If that's what it is, great, like, we know that we can't go with an EV
And
option.
this
because it's
winter
not
would
gonna
be a really great comparison, because these were some doozy storms that they were out
Yeah.
a lot. And so I mean, she's got the date, she has some of the core data already.
Well, I rode in the plow truck in one of the last storms. It's very, very interesting experience. I mean,
Right on the truck.
yeah, I mean, it's amazing how many times you have to clear an intersection back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I mean, it's
Yeah.
I would have gotten car sick if I had done like the Forest Park route.
That's a tough one, actually, down at the end.
But yeah, there seems to be a lot of knowledge there.
All right, so I think it's incumbent upon us to, and now me, since I know some of this information, I'll try to put together in the next few days the options that I at least am aware of, and then we can see what's available through if the state has anything on contract there.
But when she says the first step in the process is authorization from the town board, are you saying that we need to make the decision whether it's EV or not prior to
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
authorization?
because we'd
Yes.
authorize for specific.
Yes, we
Okay.
we have to, because we have a procurement policy, and
Yes.
there is a green procurement.
It's just like the state sole source
Paragraphs in there.
policy, which says that contracts over a certain amount of money must go out to bid, but there are some provisions that allow for sole source awarding when they're the only one that makes the thing. It's a similar type of thing, so.
Okay.
And we're looking for comparable for the green procurement, it has to be,
We have to
certain
have,
metrics there,
so in
but-
other words, we have to have the specs on the thing that we're authorizing, is what you're saying.
We have to have the
Like-
specs, but we have to go through the process, Christina, of comparing the green procurement options that are available.
Versus what she wants.
Whether it's a vehicle versus what she wants.
Versus
If we
what she
don't go
wants.
through that comparison, we're not compliant with our policy. This is a way to put a structure in place so
And once
that
we
all
all-
purchases.
Right, I guess where I'm confused is just in terms of our, like, the structure of how we do things, like, for example, with the water tower, how we authorize, it to go out to bid, there's moments when we're authorizing more information to come back in.
Yeah.
And this isn't one of those, so if
This
when
isn't.
we're authorizing it, we're done.
Because this is this
Okay.
is a procurement, it has to comply.
Yep, understood, thank you.
And she, you know, she told us the amounts of money and what's being replaced, but she hasn't told us what she actually wants to replace it with. And if she had that data, then there, I didn't see a brand and a,
Well, I thought so, I
Yeah,
thought
Was
there
it
twenty twenty-six Chevrolet
Yeah,
CK
yeah.
305.
Oh, okay.
It's a Chevy.
3500,
It's a Chevy.
Okay.
oh, it is? Okay.
yeah,
I saw what was being replaced, but I
a
didn't
crew
see.
utility.
Yeah. Okay,
Replacement, okay, 75,000.
all right, well,
it shouldn't be that cumbersome.
all right, so there's also an end of year report there,
Yeah, so there's a summary of the work that the highway crew has done in the past year. List of duties, highlights for 2025 include major construction on Jefferson Road, Adams Road, and Woods Road, distance of 1.35 miles. Capsule overlay on Granmore Drive and Seymour Drive, 0.85 miles. Work on the Forest Park drainage project, 514 feet of drainage pipe, 9 catch basins on Shady Lane. Had a lot of conversation about Forest Park, so it's nice to have some of that project completed. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure it's gonna be ongoing, but I appreciate the highway department's work in making improvements there. Maintenance, there were 27 winter storm events in the 2025 calendar year. 210 feet of culvert pipe was replaced on 3 roads, dangerous trees removed in 47 locations, clearing, maintaining, and replacing catch basins, mowing shoulders, the equivalent of 240 lane miles, patch paved roads, asphalt, training, shared services. They helped with the e-waste recycling event, and coordinating with the CAC. I know that Lori's always very appreciative of the work of Teresa and the crew for that, so, and then the purchase of a chipper truck. So there's some photos and logs here. You know, as always, we appreciate the work of the highway crew, especially given this past winter and how, you know, heavy it was.
that's the truck I was referring to, the chipper truck, which was purchased for $167,000. These pieces of equipment you live with for many years, as you can see, the way it was. So these are decisions that are not just for particular year. This is Forest Park. I'm very happy that we were able to fund this retrofit. This is the future in America. There's all those subdivisions that were outfitted with insufficient storm drainage systems.
Forest Park was also built on a wetland, so.
Right, and that's true. Hydric soils don't help. Tivoli is the capital of hydric soils. Okay, tree, more visuals. Whoa, okay, so that's a
All the dated logs
log.
are there.
That's the
There's a lot
log,
of information
okay.
there.
Let's go through the log. Okay,
Shrunk down.
monthly police.
Okay, you got that in the right order.
Do I?
Well, mine's goes backwards, so. So the police report, they gave us 3 months worth. In December of 2025, they had 133 incidents, plus 12 in Tivoli, who they are now contracted with. They issued 29 summonses and made 2 arrests. And then, just go for January. They're a very busy police department. They had 111 calls that they went out on, incidents with 11 in Tivoli, additional 11 in Tivoli. They issued 24 summonses, and they've been trying very hard to reduce the speed of drivers. They issued 1 parking ticket and they made 3 arrests. And then in February, they had 106 incidents, but don't forget, February is the shortest month of the year, with 10 in Tivoli. They wrote 27 tickets and made 5 arrests. I have asked Hildebrand, the mayor made a reasonable request in the past. Our reports gave a list of every type of incident and each location. And for good reasons, they didn't want to have the locations.
Privacy, yeah.
But I did ask if they could, if it's it's not too much work, to at least give us the categories and how many. Because I think people don't understand the breadth and diversity of the things and calls they go on. And I do generally try to make sure the public understands that like wellness checks are a common thing, and they've saved some people's lives in this town. So, you know, people call 911. When I said a police vehicle is the ultimate emergency response vehicle, that's the first call that goes out. And just for the record, as someone who has procured police cars, they are not commuter vehicles. They may look like a car, but they are not built like a car. And they also have a reduced battery range because of the nature of the way they're constructed and the amount of power that they have to use. But, you know, I would like to, I'm hoping, Pat hasn't gotten back to me yet, but he will soon, about, because I don't want to give them more work to do. In the past, they just printed a report, and it gave everything, maybe a little extra for them.
Because it had it broken down by category previously, so.
Previously, but within each one, when he printed out the report, it gave each location.
Yeah,
And it's fair not to, you know,
sure, if there's not a way to easily do it.
yeah.
Because it does include things like, like the schools, right? For
Yeah.
example, like, that's maybe, I don't know, a dozen or so. And
Yeah.
every report was
Yeah,
something like
there's,
that.
you know, instances of schools, I mean, and, you know, and there's some things that are, some people might view as, not so serious, but then there's some that are very serious, and some that appear not so serious, but when they arrive on the scene, they are in fact very serious. So it's one of those things, I've had to, in my career, work with small police departments who've assisted my agency on a variety of things, and I can't say enough good things about the Village of Red Hook's Police Department. For their size, they do a really, really good job. And it's not an easy thing, it's not an easy job, and a lot of people don't like you. So, you know, I really want to compliment them, and having a report that had more of those things to be able to talk about helps the public understand just what their job is about. So those are the 3 months.
And they're having a hard time keeping people.
Yes,
They have a very small tax base.
who is the rec department?
The rec department,
Who got that?
I'll do that. You wanna do it? Jacob, do it.
You're the liaison.
I thought you wanted,
No,
I
you
thought
are.
you were saying you wanted to do
No, I'm
it.
saying you.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. Summer rec programs. To add activities to the programs that are attractive to the participants, we purchased the following. Cornhole, we'll all be there then. Knock hockey. Oh my God, it's like everything, Bill. Everything when we were young is coming back and going, right? 12 pickleball paddles and pickleballs, tumble tower, flag football, giant soccer ball, giant 28-inch soccer ball, soft lacrosse. Grants workshop, fishing contest we talked about. You know, that's the thing that I was thinking about when you were reading off the reports of all the incidents, like, how could we have so many incidents that you couldn't get around this one, it was so damn bad, but, yeah, you talk about this one, it was difficult for them to get access to some of the equipment they had in the rec park, because of all the snow. Tennis nets, so the nets are up, you're playing tennis, you're playing pickleball, they're all up there. I actually played last weekend, pickleball with my daughters. Windscreens, so we've got some windscreens coming. The school has they've already had a game on our fields. Snack bar, garbage and recycling containers, blah, 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 staff, pickleball program. So yes, we wanna once again, thank, the managers of the property, Eddie Parker Center, we completed our 3rd year now. utilizing that state facility, another great example of a public-private partnership. We have had from November this year, I think extended through the end of, what'll be next week, the 31st will be the last time to play indoors pickleball, and as this winter demonstrated, we really need to have options for people of all ages in the wintertime for activities that they can do. And we had over 200 people, I think, about 160, 170 people sign up, yeah, for indoor pickleball there. We hope that relationship continues, because we don't have another indoor place for pickleball, although I will note the Roland property there has indoor soccer. It's a modified space. I have not been inside indoor soccer, but they also apparently have 2 pickleball courts now as well. So there's an option. There's places in Kingston, so pickleball is taking over. Walking tracks, Gillingham trails. Christina, you referenced that we have to do some maintenance on the trails. We
Yeah,
do.
if we could just pause on this one for a
Sure.
second, because I think it relates to a bunch of things, but I read this report. It brings a question that I was asking last meeting when we were talking about Camp Rising Sun. We said, oh, we're just making trails, and they're just trails. And what is the detail of the trail? Oh, it's just a trail. No, it's just some stone dust. Well, was that reviewed? Was it designed, like Cookingham, they're all washing out. What was the design of that path? Was
Yeah.
that something
The
that,
engineers were involved in that.
okay,
What's very different about Cookingham versus Camp Rising Sun is Camp Rising Sun is more like a pancake, and Cookingham is much more like a bunny slope sometimes. There are
so
a
was
couple-
there a contractor that installed?
Yes.
And
Yes,
is
it was
it,
a project, went out
is
to
it
bid,
under-
it was reviewed by the engineers. We did know that we might have to do some follow-up drainage. We wanted to see whether or not it could perform without a feature on, this is on the north end, where we may need to put in another drainage improvement area, but it's, as it turns out, the hill coming down from Abraham's has washed out on several occasions now. So we're looking at some of the options, and actually Ryan has put together a couple things that we might consider doing. So, and it washes out during those heavy rain periods. We, like oftentimes,
so we have an engineer, the engineers are looking at the design of the paths again.
again, because we knew that putting stone dust on it, so we got the property the way it was. These were farm paths existing. We did not want to eat into any more of the agriculture. We did not want to create paths anywhere, and there's just a natural contour there. So they wanted to make it accessible for both biking and walking. What replaced, so we do get washout, but what was there before was mudding out previously. So they did their best in engineering and designing to try to make it so that it was easy to maintain. But yes, our crew has had to come out there, I think, 3 times last year. And they come out with a rake or whatever, and they try and put the material back and roll it. And they're learning how to do it better as well. So it hasn't been a lot of, the trail part hasn't been a lot of work, but it's a learning curve for all of us on how to deal with that. So they did improve the existing farm paths, and in certain locations, no problem. But as you know, because you're involved in the development arena, where you have that kind of slope, it's a real challenge for.
I think it would be good to look at as like what was the original design, what are the engineers' comments on how it's performing, and what is the feedback on how it's being maintained, and what those costs are, because as we're looking at other opportunities to expand parks and the, even the
John's,
bait,
John's pretty good about
Yeah.
breaking that all out for us, so
Okay.
we can take a
That-
look at that.
that would be
Yeah.
great, as
for
well
sure.
as Brandy or Ryan's comments from engineering.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be good to get maybe Ryan to put something together about like, hey, I've walked, because he's been involved also in the engineering related to the solar, and as they put the fence back up in the area where it's been taken down to create, he's also getting out there on the trails and seeing the trails. They also had to dig up next to the trail because of a water line that came all the way from 9 to the historic house in the back that was leaking from, and that pipe is not related it's not connected to the other central main. Anyway, I digress, but, yeah, we can get that breakdown and
Great.
then we can look at what we can do to make it easier to maintain. Alright, park opening in the spring, that's already happened. Counselor job offers, he's sending out job offers to the former counselors. We've had great counselors in the past, hope that continues. There's a requirement he puts in there, that just so folks know, you have to do a counselor for every 12 participants. We are Board of Health inspected and approved each year. Tree committee bench for the trail in Rec Park West, so they want a bench over there. So that's something to consider. The bench would match 3 Keystone Ridge designs, So the request is made, but he has not provided a map. And I wanna make sure before you all see this bench and where it's designed, that it's consistent with the adopted plan for Rec Park West, that the bench is not. I love benches, I love trees, but you know, when we go and we put and dedicate, you know, you're sort of, it's almost like sacrosanct, you know, you're stuck with it where it is, pretty much, and so, we wanna make sure it's consistent with the adopted plan there. Parking lot striping, paint, so like everything this winter, the beginning of, especially on the south side, you know, the north side, we redid the parking lot. On the south side, the entrance there's some potholes, so that needs a little attention. Summer playground, offerings, sign-ups are happening June 6th and 13th for the summer programs, and they will have I think it's pretty well along the list of what the programs will be for the summertime. Picnic tables, we bought a couple more picnic tables, electric for the new baseball shed, so we had another great project was that shed that was constructed last year, so we need to get some electric in there. Restrooms. Received complaints about the lack of restrooms at Rec Park West. Yes, we look to further develop out that property. We'll be looking at grants for that. We did have portable restrooms there, so we might look at doing that again. We might need to increase that budget line. Field scheduling, that's not our issue. Benches for Clifton Lake Trails, yeah, there was a request to have a bench there. That's a little trickier, because don't forget, some of those trails will actually belong to the farmer who purchases the farm. There's a public access easement throughout those there. Fence repair, one rail was broken. There's sections that have to be replaced now because of the solar. What was taken down, they'll be there this week to work on Friday, as a matter of fact. Fishing contest. Oy, I feel like I've said all this already. This almost looks like it's repeated. I think that's good. That's a good, yeah. That's enough. Tree preservation.
Right, so we have,
Gonna get going.
2 months worth of tree preservation commission works, or, meeting reports. One from February and one from March. They both cover some common topics. We have a recertification application for tree city certification, which we received back, including 2 new signs, 20-year stickers, and a new flag. We're gonna be getting more materials soon about the 25 million tree initiative as well. That's gonna be a focus of Arbor Day, whenever that comes up next month, on April 25th. There's some notes here about the bench that we talked about, so it might be helpful to connect with John and maybe hop to see if we can just get a map to see where
Where
they're thinking.
an overlay of the plan, make sure it's not in the way, yeah.
Yeah. Trees for the Arbor Day free giveaway have been ordered. Handouts for the Arbor Day Foundation, from the Arbor Day Foundation have been ordered. That'll be for Arbor Day as well. Spring tree planting sites were finalized, including Bud's Corners Road, Pitcher Lane, Rec Park West. For the March minutes, we had some progress on the tree inventory project, so there were some rubrics that were shared that'll be used to, measure the trees and evaluate, how they're doing. The committee's gonna be getting some diameter tapes to do some measurements and things like that. They're pretty affordable. I think that's most of it. Milrose School nature outings are being scheduled for the end of April. Those happen annually. And there'll be a few days that they'll go, I think, the 5th grade classes. So that's coming up. And that's about everything for Tree Preservation Commission. Thanks again for all their work. They're doing a lot of maintenance for trees.
Okay.
The water department.
Water everywhere.
Unfortunately, I missed the last meeting because I had a conflict. I usually make them. But I do read the reports, and there's nothing that stands out as really much different than the last few months. I will point out that the well capacities for the pump volumes for well 1 was at 42 gallons per minute, and well 2 at 96. I just signed a voucher for Ty and Bond. We are going out to bid for a well rehab on well number 1. And both the wells were rehabbed 3 or 4 years ago. And it's unclear why, and they can generally pump over 150 gallons per minute if we needed to, but it's unclear why the capacity for one has dropped. The only good news is it has been consistent. It hasn't gone all over the place. It stayed steady, and that's certainly more than enough water for the areas that are served. But we're going to get that rehabbed, and then based on the rehab, there may be some additional things that have to be done. All the testings are done. We have great water. Our aquifers are exceptional, and there are a few homes that have had experienced some dirty water for one reason or another, and they're on top of that. That's in the next page, I think. And those are supplies that they have to buy on a regular basis. There's an issue on Linden Avenue. When they built that community, what was actually the sample house for that community sort of sits at the end of where the water, it's sort of like a dead end. And because of that, things back up. And so initially we were going to dig it out and put in what's called a flushing hydrant, which would allow residual sediment and other things to be flushed out. And we have been trying for the last number of months to get the contractor to come and dig it out, but it's been cold, the ground's been frozen solid. And now that we're about to do it, they're looking at potentially some other alternatives. But other than that, it's pretty steady. And they're mostly, what's not on this report, because this is really the water department and the delivery of water to our current customers, what's not on here is, what's taking up a lot of time is dealing with the tank.
Yeah.
That's where we are.
Okay. Well, and that reminds me, I think we had some correspondence from a resident in Willow Park, right? You recall that presentation we had on potential establishment of other water districts. The village had, we'll call it some sort of handshake agreement, been servicing the neighborhood Willow Park, right? You're familiar with where that is, behind the car wash and the bagel shop and all of that. And so a resident there wanted to know about a hydrant belongs to the village's system, but it's in the town. You know, we can't connect, we don't own any of, we don't own and nor can we do anything with that. And, you know, the village has been charging those residents the 2 times rate, presumably in order to accumulate funds so that when something does need to be replaced, they have the finances again, but I can't imagine that they've got reserves set aside for when and if those days come. But, you know, again, it goes to that issue of the tax base in order to support these types of services.
You have other correspondence?
She mentioned.
Oh, yeah, did we have any other board reports though?
No, it's not.
Anybody? Okay, so it would not be a Wednesday night unless we introduce Dolly Parton. So our Red Hook librarian, I think I mentioned, wrote to us about a program that is grant supported, although my understanding is we would not be in a position to get any grant money initially, would not qualify, there's a threshold thing. But for the folks at home, it relates to, it's a book program essentially. And again, to go back to that stat, which I found disturbing, and I haven't verified it, so I want to be careful, but he says only 55% of 3rd graders tested proficient at reading. To better support students as they enter school, our community needs an impactful and cost-effective way to support early childhood literacy and ensure our children have the foundational skills to succeed academically, socially, and emotionally. So they would like us to become, us the community, a local program partner of Dolly Parton's Imagination Library. It's an initiative that delivers a free monthly book to children from birth to age 5. This helps children and caregivers build an at-home library, which increases interactions with books, fosters the love of reading, contributes to literacy and future academic success. As a partner of Imagination Library, we would, if we did pursue this, enroll eligible Red Hook children and pay 50% of the cost of books and mailing at $2.20 per month per child. Our goal is to enroll 195 children, which is 65% of the eligible population. The average enrollment for Imagination Library partners. With your support, we project a gradual build to our goal in the coming years. Red Hook has around 300 kids who qualify. Our library would take care of all the paperwork and enrollment as well as manage any issues that registrants face. We can start whenever. The program can only support registrants by zip code. If a zip code crosses town borders, the library could potentially reject those applications who live outside the town, blah, blah, blah. Happy to join the meeting, and I think this was his estimation of how it might roll out, and the costs associated with it. Seems a little low to me. Oh, there we are. It's the monthly number. So it would, his estimation would be for the first year less than 1,000, close to 2, then 3, 4, and 5,500 by the time it reached the 5th year.
That seems like it also gets up to 100%. In the letter it says he's shooting for 65%.
Yeah.
So we should obviously be somewhere between that 3,000 and 4,200 number.
I think it would be helpful if he told us where the 55% metric came from. Are we testing 3rd graders universally across? I mean, I know the Red Hook schools, I follow where they are in terms of against state standards. But are we testing 3rd graders? I don't know.
Again, I don't. I
It would be
haven't
I assume that I was
verified
coming from somewhere, but.
It would be
Right.
helpful to know,
Yeah.
because statistics are statistics, and,
Yeah.
you know, the metric came from somewhere.
Yeah.
It's not a big ask, but I still, you know, like you, when I saw 55%, I was, raised my eyebrows.
Well, it's concerning. I mean, yeah, we can get confirmation of 55 where that comes from, but do you all have any initial thoughts on?
So he's asking us to approve like less than $1,000 for a year? That seems fine.
Yeah, it's not a big
That's-
ask.
It's not a big ask,
To
books are
help
great.
kids read, yeah, no, it's not a big ask, you know, I know Christine and I and you are parents of children, so that's, but his justification raised a question that sort of, I'd like to get more information about. That's not gonna be the decision maker for me on the approval of the money, I just think
The
it's,
status.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm also curious whether they're making the same ask of other local organizations, foundations, things like that. On the quick start guide, it lists some common financial supporters. I mean, I think the town would probably be able to contribute a meaningful amount towards this, but I don't know if they're asking, if they sent this to other people as well. I'd be curious to know what the actual dollar amount they're asking for. Seems like a great idea, great program.
Yeah.
Seems very cost effective, $220 per book delivered.
I'm curious.
Yeah, it's like, how are you doing that?
Yeah. No, I agree. I'm just sort of curious how this is going to dovetail with, the governor's initiative, right? You all have been reading, following along what's happening, Dutchess County's pilot for the state program? No?
No.
Oh. Okay,
Tell us
so, what is it, the 2 to 4? 2 to 4? Yeah, there's a pilot program for preschool.
Oh, that's the the
Oh,
pre-K program, I read about that, yeah.
Yeah. Dutchess County, I think Ulster's joining in, Putnam. If I have some of that wrong, I apologize. But basically, Governor came down to Poughkeepsie to announce, working with our county exec, to pilot this initiative here. I'm just curious if it,
It doesn't seem like,
Materials
it
are
doesn't seem like
or
it would
whatever.
conflict. It seems
Different
like it'd be
cohort.
something that,
you know,
if you're covering 0 to 5, there might be
Yeah.
some overlap, and it doesn't hurt if they have
no,
extra
no, no,
books.
no. Hey, stay-at-home dad here, for the first 2 girls. Taught them to read with Stickum, actually. I think it's great. Okay, what do we wanna say?
A little bit more clarity on the ask. I mean, it'd be nice to have an idea about where the
I'm-
55 number comes from, but I feel like
I'm fine.
I'm comfortable going forward
I'm very
with it,
comfortable
but-
going
Yeah.
forward.
Yeah.
I think
I
it's,
agree.
cover the whole thing.
yeah.
And if his goal is 65%, it's 65% of 5,000 in year 5, I mean, that's
I mean,
still,
If we get up to 100%, great.
yeah,
If we get every child enrolled, great.
but that ain't gonna happen. Who wants to make the motion? I'll make it.
Thank you, William. A motion to approve
Libraries request.
collaborating with the Red Hook Public Library to have our community partner with Imagination, Dolly Parton's initiative, delivering a free monthly book to children from birth to age 5.
Start whenever.
And what's that?
To start whenever.
Start whenever, but in utero. Okay, well, I mean, come on, people talk to their kids.
Well, I would also just point out, the governor's plan,
Yeah.
the town of Red Hook has had a pilot, and they've been expanding it for PK to offer pre-kindergarten. And they didn't have enough space or teachers, but now, I mean, it was on a lottery
Well,
basis.
this is childcare, this program. This is for childcare, pay for childcare.
I know, but for PK in our schools,
Yeah.
which is essentially functions the same way, to have a full day of pre-kindergarten,
Yeah.
they're getting there. and I think that, you know, so I think in some ways, from age, well, PK starts, what's that, age, kindergarten starts at 5, right? So they were having 3, the PK was at age 3 and 4. So, you know, we're kind of a little bit ahead of the curve in some ways. We just didn't have the capacity in our school district to be able to offer it to everybody who's on a lottery basis. Now, they're doing better, the chances of getting in are much higher. But I have neighbors whose kids are in it, they're in it.
Well, I would hope we have capacity, physical capacity. We must not have had program capacity because the enrollment is 60% of what I moved in.
Yeah, no, I know.
Three out of 4 households don't have a child in the school system in Attleboro. And that's pretty consistent statewide almost now at this point, just demographics of households being what they are, 2.7.
So I think you made a motion to.
Bill made a motion, I'll second it. Any further discussion?
I'm glad he brought it to our attention. Thanks to Alex in the library for finding the initiative.
I think he's gonna flip his lid when he finds out we all approve it. He's gonna be, wait, you did one. Yeah. Okay. Christine?
Aye.
4 ayes, okay, thank you. And Bill has offered to read all the books to the kids. Thank you very much. That is all we have for tonight. I want to thank all of you for coming here tonight. Enjoy your holiday, because there will be a holiday between now and when we
Next week.
see you, whatever that holiday is that you celebrate.
April Fool's Day.
There's, rumor has it, there's a little yellow ball that's in the sky there that occasionally wants to come out and play. I hope you enjoy that. And at this time, I'd like to make a motion that we go into executive session to discuss a matter under negotiation, the disclosure of which could materially affect the price.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
I think that's at least 3 ayes. Christina, you want to?
I said aye,
Oh,
yes.
okay, sorry. Again, thank you all. Stay healthy, please. We got through the winter. If we got through this winter, we can get through anything.